What up, what up, what up?
What's going on?
Back.
What is up?
It's Friday night. It's time for another episode of the Friday Night Shenanigans. Up in here in the studio, back with Tony and Sir Paul.
Okay.
Sir Paul the Knight.
Okay.
The Black Knight.
Sharing the post.
In the pants.
Oh,
Yeah, oh, God. Banned already.
all right. I'm going to share the post, and then we're going to get started. We got some good topics tonight. I'm actually pretty excited for the topics tonight. I think we're going to have some really good conversation because the two topics, the one is a total sleeper. The one's a total sleeper, and that's the Caymas boat topic. And then
I haven't seen anything about this yet at all.
So,
not even from Andy.
yeah, which is surprising because he dropped a video today, and I thought for sure, because it usually beats us to the punch, but it was not.
So, do we know this for a fact?
We don't know this. Okay, so I
We're
know.
going to talk about Charger.
I know what I was told by an inside source, who I won't name, but we all know who I'm talking about, who gives me a lot of really good information on the industry because he's very deep in the industry. And you all can speculate who you may or may not believe that is. But that's where I get a lot of my information from. And I find it to be very reliable. Very, very reliable. As a matter of fact, when the whole hummingbird thing happened, I talked to this individual, and he was like, yep, 100% you're spot on, because his rep had actually just called him as a heads up. This is what's going on. So we'll talk about that a little bit, and then I definitely want to talk about this Toyota Series that's kind of making people's heads turn a little bit on Pickwick, because that's been like
Stirring it up.
it seems like all is
bags.
it's like all is not as it seems with these tournament results, and I think there's a lot of opinions floating around right now on Pickwick in general and all this other stuff. The first question of the night is: did Paul dye his beard 10 years younger? Did you dye your beard, Paul?
Maybe.
You kind of
That's
look
a
like
yes.
Eminem.
I know, right? That's what I thought.
I think the answer to that question is yes. Sounds like the answer to that is a definitive yes. Good for you, Paul.
He
That
said, did Paul die?
that was the point.
Beard.
I was starting to feel old.
What's up, John?
Half my beard was white,
I've been,
so I was
I've
like,
been
nah,
keeping
I'm
up
good.
with the posts that John and the JCS crew's been doing. Man, that shop looks awesome, and it is full.
It looks phenomenal.
There is like not an empty space
That
on
does
the
look good.
floor. I mean, they got a crazy amount of boats in there. Very, very cool. So I guess we'll start with the Caymas Boats thing while we get some folks in here. But so I don't know, I don't remember exactly where I heard it for the first time, but somebody said something's wrong at Caymas Boats.
Yeah, and not
Was
too
it
long
you
after-
or was it
Well,
Kevin or somebody
so-
said it in the group chat? I can't remember who it was.
I stumbled across a TikTok actually. The owner of Brazalo Lures was talking about Caymas Boats, and he said that it was because it had to do with the whole Charger.
What's going on, Dale?
Charger
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
And he was like, and what's going to be next? And he's like, I happen to know personally someone who just bought a brand new Caymas with 0 hours.
Fishing for DLRs. First time here. Welcome,
Welcome,
buddy.
man.
Thank you for joining the show. We appreciate you, and definitely if you got any comments or any questions, send them on in. We appreciate you.
Nice. Good job, Lou.
So
Not gonna wear
That's how we
pants.
are.
How?
So,
Yes. I don't know how there's a pair of pants you can wear after that episode.
So he was saying that, so who's going to be next? He's like, not, he's like, I don't have any insider information on the company itself, but he personally knew someone who just bought a brand new Caymas 20-footer for $40,000.
So okay, so
It was
and that falls in line with
it was a 2023.
but it's still a CX-20.
right. There's still 2023s.
Wow.
He said there's still, if you can find them, he said he knows that there are still 2022s and 2023s sitting on
Unsold.
unsold on lots. So
Oh, we have a bot. This is awesome. We're gonna get $1,000 per streaming apparently if we subscribe to this person. Should we do it? Should we do it?
or should we whip out the band hammer?
Yeah, right.
But yeah.
So yeah.
He, being able to, a brand new 20-foot boat for $40,000.
It's a steal.
Like
That's a steal.
I mean, that's less than half of the retail on that boat.
And the question is, what does that mean? Because can you find another brand of boat right now that you can get that deal for an unsold new model? So that there's meaning behind that.
Is it now? It could be a couple of things, and just speculating here. Did they overproduce? To their sales, right? So are they selling a fair amount of boats, but they just produced more than what they were selling?
Do you see a fair amount of them for as new as a company? I mean, we do see them. It's not rare to see one.
I only know one or two. I know two people who have them. So I mean,
But you know two people that have them. But
I know personally two people.
Right, but we see them regularly in this area. I mean, it's not like seeing Ranger.
I only know of two. Those two people are the only two that I see around here on a regular basis. Anyway,
there's a couple guys that fish the.
Fish and bought milk. He said he bought Milkins Caymas that he ran in.
Really? Wow, that's awesome. So, all right. So,
how do you like the boat?
I want to hear about this because I don't know anyone. I know a couple guys. Like there's two.
We are getting feisty in the chat here.
I think one or two guys in the Conowingo Opens fish out of a Caymas. One of them's a brand new one, like last year, a brand new one. But anyway, so what I was told is, to your point.
What's up, Dan?
Across the country, Caymas bass boats are being sold at or below production cost.
Dan, you can ride my mustache anytime.
To me, sounds like that's what happens. That's exactly what happened with Helix units. Like they're being discontinued. So let's dump the inventory and just.
Well, right, because you got to get rid of that stock that you have.
So what else is Caymas in though? If they're just potentially stopped.
I thought they only. Are you sure? I thought they had other
consoles?
boats. I thought they had other boats, but I'm
sure
I'm gonna look at it.
We can
into it right
Google
now.
this. We have a computer.
Yeah, we're gonna take a look and see.
They may have like some maybe like a fish and ski type thing.
I didn't think Caymas was like a brand new company. I thought it was.
Oh, it's brand new.
Well, the bass boats, yes.
Earl Bentz started Caymas.
So that's my question, and I want to talk a little bit more about Caymas before I open up that can of worms. But I made we'll just screw
They
it.
have some saltwater
Okay,
boats.
so they do have some saltwater boats.
Okay,
too.
so they have saltwater boats. Ooh.
Can you look up how long they've been in business, Chad? Because the bass boats is very recent. The bass boats is within 5 years.
They're Jim says they're known for
Founded in 2018.
Yeah, so it's a pretty new company.
Okay.
Earl Bentz designed the bass. I knew he designed the bass boats for sure.
So,
I wasn't sure if he had anything to do with the start of the company.
One of the comments in our group chat amongst us and Kevin Parsons was that, and granted, I've never looked into a Caymas. I've never crawled in one. I've never ridden in one. I've never fished out of one.
I do think they're great looking boats.
I think they look fine, but my thing is, when we were talking about like, there might be some problems going on with Caymas.
What is that? What's the XS?
I have no idea.
I've never seen the XS.
Well, looks the same as the CX.
But my thing was, a couple people said that, it's Earl Bentz, it's automatically good, and I'm like, if they're selling at or below cost, there's a problem. So, is there a lot of hype going on in the market? Like, that's kind of another discussion, but I kind of think the market is, a lot of people hype it up like crazy, whether it's it's Earl Bentz, or it's a Champion Haul, or it's a whatever. Like, there's only a handful of hauls that are still out there today that have been unchanged since the last probably 20 years. That's the Ranger 518.
Jim says the XS is a C deck.
Okay, yeah. So the Ranger 518 has not changed since it was made in '98. The Bullet 20 and 21 XD, they're still made, just not as much. But they have modernized XRSs and
the Ranger 518's changed.
What
the
about
518's way different?
Not much though. I
about
mean,
the
it really
Allison?
hasn't changed. I don't know anything about Allison, but I think the Bassport models seem to be quite modernized from what they were. So I think that has changed quite a bit. But like the 20 XD Bullet hasn't changed. Scott Dye said market's going soft. Everyone blew their wad. Triton Nitros leftovers around. Adds up fast, so drastic measures to stop the bleeding. Caymas seemed okay, not speed demons, but solid ride. Greg says that was last year's numbers. It's probably less now. Earl Bentz took the designs from his previous boats, designed the Caymas boat. Fishing for I'm going to screw up your name, buddy. I'm sorry. Fishing for
DLRs.
DLRs says the customer service at Caymas is second to none, coming from a longtime Ranger owner. Okay. I don't know anything about the brand, but to me,
Martin!
from a
What's up, Martin?
Martin, I forgot Matt Rab has a Caymas.
But like to me, if the brand is selling boats at that level, from on a large scale that are at or below cost, that's a red flag. Like that's a major red flag. I mean, Charger didn't even do that, and they're done.
Well, I mean, again, according to what we heard, they weren't having financial issues either, so they weren't. It wasn't a problem with
Fishing for dollars.
having inventory.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
So
Thanks,
three
brother.
people. So I know 3 people with a Caymas. So Brian Treshman has a Caymas, or he did. I don't know if he got rid of it. He did. He had his Sterling and a Caymas.
Oh, we had
Fish the-
two.
fish
I
the
was saying,
Thursdays?
ooh.
No.
I was about to, because that's like one of the that's probably my favorite boat
There's a
ever.
dude with a
is that
black and red
Sterling.
Caymas that fishes a couple of the Thursday nighters.
I've never seen
That
a
boat
Caymas
is in
since.
Joppa Town. Like it's
Yeah.
if you keep going past the ramp, it's just
that's
it's up there.
that's Desmond McLeod.
I think so. It's
Okay,
like a
yeah,
19 footer,
yeah.
I think.
He randomly stopped by my house one day because he saw my boat out there.
Nice.
It's a
That's
beautiful
cool.
boat.
Yeah, I've seen that boat when I drove up there once. It's a nice. I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about them because I've never been in them. I've heard really good things about them. I've heard really bad things about them. I just want to know why they're selling boats at cost. Like to me, that's
A red flag.
it's. I mean, how is it anything but a red flag?
Yeah, exactly, Scott. Scott said, "Don't confuse family business decisions versus market demand," and that's from what we understand. That's exactly what happened.
Thanks for the
Chargers,
like. Thanks for the like, Colin. If you guys are watching the show and enjoying the content so far, please do us a huge favor. It helps us out a lot. All you have to do is click that like button and click the share button, and it really helps us out. So please do us a favor. Click those buttons.
So here's a hypothetical or question for you.
Oh, I like hypotheticals.
Who do you think is going to be impacted? Because we know bass boat sales in general are down.
Yes.
So who's going to be impacted more? The big high number boat manufacturers, Nitro, Ranger, Triton, Skeeter, or the smaller more family run like Bass Cat?
I'm gonna
low production, relatively low production numbers.
I don't know that you can necessarily base it off of production numbers. I think you can base it off of how did they adjust to the market. Because Bullet's a good example, right? Bullet didn't adjust.
I'm just saying, like, who's going to be affected more? Like, I only make.
Well, obviously the small
Say
businesses,
I only
'cause
make-
their capital small.
But are they still going to have enough of a market that they're still going to sell their 50 boats a year?
Okay, well, I see what you're saying.
Versus the large manufacturers who have to sell a lot more boats, like say a Nitro. Nitro's discounted. Probably doesn't cost any less to make a Nitro than it does to make a Ranger, right? As far as manufacturing costs, they all have the same equipment on them. They're all fiberglass, right? So it probably doesn't cost anything less. But you got to sell a lot more Nitros to make up that cost difference, because it costs $20,000 less. So
Yeah.
is it like are the small boat companies going to come out of this better?
My answer to this is going to be how do they change their business model during COVID? Because a couple months ago when Mercury
That's a good point.
A couple months ago, when Mercury laid off 300 workers, those 300 people were hired during the height of COVID when they needed to meet astronomical demands. Whereas you have companies like Bullet, Allison, Blazer, Bass Cat didn't really ramp up their production. It just took longer for you to get a boat because they didn't want to overextend themselves. I think a lot of these companies overextended themselves, but when you're backed by White River Marine, you have all the money in the world.
Josh.
What'd Josh say?
Josh says, what's up, fellas? Over here, a hard push away from shitting myself with the flu, but had to jump on for some Friday night action. Josh, as always, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us with your sick ass.
So yeah, I think your smaller companies, like you said, that didn't ramp up that production and are
just steady Eddie all the way.
They're
through.
just they're steady. They're not losing anything, and people are still Ballistic doesn't have a problem getting boats on order.
Right.
The people with money are still buying them. Yeah, exactly, Scott. So the people with money are still buying them. The people with money are still buying still buying bullets. The people with money are still buying ballistics. The people with money are
Still
still buying
buying
bass cats.
Allison.
Icons,
They're still buying
right.
bass cats. They're buying
Right.
icons.
So I think, you know, and like Scott said, the small builders don't have to support a big staff. You know, their staff is very small.
Right.
You know, sometimes I think I may be wrong on this, but I won't put out a specific number. But like when Andy was talking about ballistic, like they're like people who build their boats is like 10 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yep. Gambler was like that
that's
too.
who they employ like 10 people. They have 10 people that build all of their boats. So
yeah.
you know, it's you know, there's a lot of factors into that, and yes, and Greg mentioned something earlier about you know, what is real cost, right? They make huge amounts of profit in these, and I'm sure, yeah, absolutely, I'm sure they do, but you know, the more boats you make, the more cost you have in inventory.
Yeah.
So you know, it's all in how many boats you have to sell to make up for that cost that you spent building all of your boats. If you make 100 boats and it takes you 75 boats to make a profit, like, you know, that's a number that you have to look at versus you know, a company that makes one boat at a time, that literally makes one boat, sells one boat, and makes a profit.
Right. Well, one of the comments that John, when me and Chad were up at JCS Marine, that John told us is that, you know, the resin that they're using now to build boats was basically purchased and resourced 2 years ago. So, and during COVID, there were shortages, so the price was higher, which is why we saw prices get so high. A lot of that was because of the supply chain during COVID, and it hasn't really adjusted yet. So I think what ended up happening is now that the market has hit that crest and is on the way down, the
Jim,
resources that were,
Jim, just before you really
go ahead.
I just want to respond to Jim. He's like, you know, most of us can't afford 80K. You don't have to pay $80,000 for a bass boat either. There are deals out there.
oh yeah,
And there have been for the last. I mean, you know, it was really bad like immediately after COVID, but for the last couple of years, like you hit like the end of the year, find those. You know, I bought a 2023 Skeeter in January of 2024, and it was, you know, like almost $10,000 off. You know, I paid less than $70,000 for it, brand new, 0 hours. You know, so was it still expensive? Yeah, but you know, you look at we start looking at like bass cats and Vexuses. Just throw that out there because
you mean Vexi?
Vexi, yes,
Vexi?
Vexi. You know, that are $100,000 plus boats. Yeah, I mean, no, not everybody can afford them, but you know, sometimes Greg, people are buying bass boats right and left. They just don't want piece of shit nitros.
It
Like,
took
that's why you have
longer for
nitros
all
in
the
there.
bank repos and shit to catch up than I honestly thought it would. And I'm still, to this day, questioning how, at the height of COVID, when people were supposedly losing their jobs, money wasn't
I think
flowing,
just in general,
yada, yada,
like,
yada,
I would say-
how Mercury had their highest demand. It's just crazy to me.
Well, because people were getting stir crazy from staying inside. They
Just
wanted
buying
to
shit
do
out of,
right.
like,
Yes,
being
yes,
bored.
gotta
Just-
get them bank repos.
That's actually a thing.
Find you one of them bank repos.
Some little bit of Vexi, Lou and the Vexi.
Somebody, you know, bought a boat 2 years ago, can't afford it now.
Lou says he
Got
just
about
checked
30
some prices and the prices are good. Even the auto dealers are making some good offers, but the rates are just still shit. He says real estate agents are struggling right now.
My point I was making earlier is that the boats that you're seeing today are the price. Those were priced 2 years ago. So now those were already priced based on the materials and the sourcing and all that other shit. And now we're on a downward turn, both in the market and inflation.
Yes, Josh, I agree.
Yeah,
That's the only. I love the Vexus except for those bars.
The rail on those.
Sorry, Dale.
Dale doesn't like it. I don't. Here's the thing, though, right? Like Nitro versus the world.
He's mad because I said something about Nitro.
Like, and me and Chad
sorry,
talked
Dale.
about this last night. Is like, you can say like Nitro probably gets dragged more than any other bass boat company in the world, and they're still gonna sell more
They're
boats.
still going to sell.
They're
no matter
going to
what.
sell more boats.
Honestly,
like it's not
like-
even a
Honestly,
question.
if there's really, it's like
I can't see anything.
it's like the Rangers, dude. Rangers are getting drugged through the mud. You can't go on the Ranger Aluminum Facebook page and see a positive comment. People are still buying them though, left and right.
Oh yeah.
You know, Ranger has a name. You know, Nitro has name recognition. So, you know, they're going to sell boats. And to be perfectly fair, like a Nitro, like it's not the best riding boat I've ever been in, but it was more than half. Thank you very much.
I would. I mean, so I would never not consider a Nitro.
What I'm saying, you know, a Nitro, like I've seen Nitro, like I've never seen anything in a Nitro that like I would say, oh my god, this is built like crap.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think my old Nitro runs better than my Ranger did. I mean, as far as like, it was obviously fiberglass, but it was still a 17.5-foot boat that just handled water way better.
So Dale, I'm not specifically talking about the boat itself. I'm talking about the company. Because there are some issues with the company and with customer service.
Do you mean White River Marine is trash?
Josh has a really good point. Josh says if you're a tournament guy, the incentives from Nitro are ridiculous. That's why they outsell everybody, because they have they have the most competitive price on the market. You get a comparable fiberglass boat to everyone else.
Well, and everybody can see them because everybody goes to Bass Pro Shops.
Right.
And I don't understand why, because every time I go in there, I get more disappointed in the freaking selection.
Martin, I haven't been in the 21 XL. I have been in a couple of the 20 footers, and they meh.
So what
if they could learn to put a trailer under it, it'd be perfect.
I've never got beat up as bad as I did in a Z20.
What is slow though in comparative to the 21 foot with a 250 bass boat board? You have a Nitro 21 with a 250 on it.
Less than 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's a 70.
It's got to be running 68 to 70.
That's pretty much what.
Less than 70 miles an hour is considered slow for a full size boat. Yeah, I haven't ridden in any of the 21 foot. I've only been in Z20s and what was the one before that?
I don't think anybody looks at a Nitro and is like,
how fast is your Triton?
What a
Dustin?
Piece of shit! Like,
how fast does that thing get up to? Does Dustin's Triton have a 250 or a 200?
200.
Dustin's Triton rolls.
It's a 200.
It's an 18 TRX. It'll roll. It's like a 70 mile. It's definitely a 70 mile an hour boat.
Yeah, that thing will roll out.
Does it chime?
Yes,
it's a Triton.
It's a Triton.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I didn't know if the newer Hall, if they had made any.
Andrew
Hey,
Sam,
what's up, Andrew?
Andrew Sam, 70 to 72 all day. He has a 21 XL.
Okay.
My only complaint with
slow.
Nitro.
That's a fast boat.
The only thing that like when it comes to Nitro, I just don't like at all is the trailers. They're garbage. I don't like the components that are on them. I've crawled under them. I've seen Martin's trailer in pieces way too many times for me to be like, yeah, this is a good product. Like,
yeah. I've heard bad things about their trailers, and
yes,
they're just. I've never heard anything good about their service.
I mean, and here's the thing, right?
You got to take it back to Bass Pro Shop to get service on it.
No, you could. Well, I mean, or a Nitro dealer
anywhere that's White River.
Any Nitro.
But I mean, pretty much every bass boat dealer is a Nitro dealer. You want me to talk to you about
how well that goes?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
it's White River. It's the same people. The same people I'm calling for my Ranger recall are the same people that are going to handle your Nitro.
Jim said Nitro is the Guggen Baits of boats.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far.
That's messed up.
That is, that's a little mean.
Dale said his Z19 will run 71.
You're going to upset people.
I would say, all right, who is the Guggen of bass boats?
Where's Guggen?
Tracker.
I was going to say
Are
Tracker.
they gone?
Guggen? No, they're still around.
I will say
it's got to be Tracker.
Like I said, I've never seen anything on a Nitro boat that makes me go, "Oh my god, this is terrible." It's just having to deal with Bass Pro Shops or having to deal with like Nitro customer service. I've just heard, when John Jedry had the problem with his, he said it was kind of an ordeal to get that replaced.
That's the redneck boat. Oh, you mean like the low roughneck?
I saw Andrew Sams on here. I know he ordered a boat and received the wrong boat. Like they said,
Martin's boat has the wrong color.
He says I live in Johnny Morrisville.
They sent him
Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah, they sent him the wrong color. he ordered a specific color boat, like ordered it from the factory.
We know. Hey, Martin, didn't you have a similar experience with Nitro when it comes to colors on the boat?
Oh, you just did that.
I know. I feel bad, but to be fair, they did give Martin price off because they screwed that up. So I think it looked great, Martin. I'm just saying. I think it looks awesome.
You would never know.
No, you would, because you know what goes with nothing? Maroon. It doesn't go with anything. You know what? It goes with maroon and black. Like, no offense, Martin.
Wait. There's maroon on his boat?
You have it. It's on the underside.
That's what I'm
it's
saying.
like a pinstripe on the bottom, and
But
his boat's blue.
I know. So, Martin, I'm not trying to clown you, buddy. I promise you, I'm not. But the story apparently goes and Martin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they sent him a picture of the boat, and he was like, "Why is it fucking maroon?" And they were like, "What do you mean? That's not the color." So then they gave him a price off, so they didn't have to build him a new boat. So they did take money off of it, but like,
yeah, but still, I mean, it
makes for a good story. I'd rather have a good story.
That's twice. That's 2 times I've.
Jim, I'm right with you. White River took my boat.
From people I personally know. Like, yeah, Martin said he didn't order it.
Oh, so the dealer did. Okay.
But that's 2 people that I personally know that have had issues with a boat being the right color.
I like Andrew's boat. Andrew's boat's awesome. I mean, Clint has a really nice Z21 too. So.
Clint's boat's really.
I don't think I haven't seen Andrew's new boat.
The Z21 XL. It looks it's very clean. It's got
I haven't seen his new Z21 XL.
It's like a matte finish. It looks good. Really good looking boat.
So Andrew said the dealer screwed that up. Yeah, I knew this.
I got my boat through the recall work. Well, they did the work elsewhere, but I did all my warranty stuff through Bowers. And Bowers was okay to work with, but I don't. I personally don't know if those people know how to set up a boat. Like, I'm serious.
Oh, your shit was screwed up.
My shit was all fucked up.
Martin got his from Bowers too, and he screwed up. So. Bowers also screwed up Andrew's boat. So yeah, I can't wait to see your new one, Andrew.
And I got to go back to Jim's comment. I'm not with the White River either. They had my boat for 11 months, lost my paperwork, gave me the option of a new color, selected a new color, and still sent me the wrong color. And what am I going to do? Send it back
green,
for?
Right?
It was supposed to come back fusion green, but they sent me another blue one.
Right.
Then you were gonna you had to cancel your power poles or something, didn't you?
Yeah. So then, because I had blue power poles ordered, or I had
or no, you ended up keeping them because they were black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ordered blue power poles, and then they told me that I could change the colors
green,
of them.
and then you changed it to black.
And then I changed it to black. and
then
it was
they
just
sent you the
this
blue
whole
anyway.
freaking shitty thing.
Yeah. Josh has a good comment. It says, "Whoops, gave you the wrong boat. What the fuck kind of business deal is that?" I agree. I mean,
Brian, what's up, buddy?
When you're spending, I don't care. Like, if you're spending that much money on something, it should be right. And here's where my dad's a big Harley Davidson guy. Like, been doing it forever. Like, if you get a Harley Davidson that's wrong, whoever is buying that is not taking it out of the lot. Like, so, period, end of sentence. I feel like boats should be the same way.
This is really my first experience with a boat dealer. I had some issues with the Skeeter. Nothing on Skeeter. I just had
I agree with you, Martin.
I broke a switch, and my oxygenator got busted up. So wasn't a Skeeter thing, that's a Teenage Marine product, so no big deal there. And then I broke the switch. I caught it on the kill switch cable, and it broke the switch cover.
Popped it off. Yeah.
Didn't just pop it off, broke it.
Oh, okay.
Broke the
just a two-way rocker switch.
I really feel like it doesn't matter what brand of boat.
Here's what. Well, hold on. So that was the 2 issues that I had. So I'm like, well, the oxygenator that happened in rough water. I'm not expecting anything to come from that, but let's see if I can get a new switch. I call up Town Marine. I'm like, talk to their parts guy, and I'm like, hey, it's Paul Batters. I got my ZXR. I need a switch, either a switch cover or a switch. He talked to me for a couple seconds, and he's like, yeah, most likely. When that switch came off there, it probably broke the tabs. You'll probably need a whole new switch. And I was like, okay, cool. Can I get one of those? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, and speaking of that, because it was the switch to my oxygenator that I broke. I was like, and speaking of the oxygenator, this summer, and this was just the other day that I called them. And this happened during the solstice when we were running that rough water to go up
to the flats, yeah.
My oxygenator broke, like the cover popped off and it just broke. It was in pieces. And so I was like, yeah, my oxygenator kind of fell to pieces running in rough water not long after I got the boat. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. He's like, oh, well, let me see what we have in stock, and we'll give you a call back. And 5 days later, both of them showed up at my house.
Nice. That's awesome.
See, that's good. That's good service.
That's how it's supposed to be.
No questions.
Yes.
No questions asked. Just replaced it. Sent me the new parts, and that's the second time that I had an issue. I had a wiring issue, and I couldn't figure out what it was. Called him up. He's like, put me on the phone with one of the guys that works in the in the garage or actually works on boats.
The fellow that briefed us when we picked up your boat was like
very knowledgeable.
Very, very knowledgeable.
It's like 2.5 hours away.
It was like three. And
I told him.
So I told him what my wiring issue was, what was going on, and I couldn't figure it out. And he said it's probably this. There was a bad batch of connectors that
excuse me
that must have came from whoever Skeeter gets their the connectors from. He said, if you look underneath, it's probably cracked. He said, I'll look at them, check all the rest of them. Tell me,
hi Julie.
Tell me if any other ones are cracked, and I'll send you new jumper wires for all of them. And nice. Like I went through and I was like, it's only one cracked. He's like, I'm like, but I do travel quite a bit. So is there any way that I could get a couple of extra ones? And he said, I'll see what I can do. And sure enough, when he sent me one, sent me 3 of them.
Nice.
That being said, once he told me what it was, I fixed it myself before I got it, so I have 3 extra ones now.
And also, what I was going to say too, we're located in here in Maryland. We're about 45 minutes north of Baltimore.
Yep.
But what I was going to say is, I feel like
it only takes me 25 minutes to get downtown.
I feel like all these boat manufacturers, no matter who they are, you could go Bass Cat, Icon, Tracker. Other than their hulls and whatnot, the components are going to be what the components are going to be. And when they go bad, the way that the customer service handles it really kind of makes a difference.
It's huge.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like that right there, that makes a huge difference in dealing with Town Marine.
That makes me think like
dealership.
Hey, you know what? If I'm going to buy another Skeeter, I'm definitely going to buy it from them.
But if you're going to go, and I'm just using this name for no reason. I'm just picking one just because it is what it is. I'm just saying Nitro. If you freaking something on a Nitro breaks and you call White River or the dealer or whatever, and you say, hey, this switch went bad, and they fight you on it, and your boat's 6 months old, it's just like, well.
Now I would say this.
And I don't have any experience with dealing with other boat manufacturers,
or having people that don't know what they're talking about and cannot walk you through a wiring problem like you were having. That's
Andrew has a really good question. I've heard it is.
I don't think it's completely thawed out.
I think it's thawed out enough to maybe launch and run the boat.
There's no fish there.
No.
Ever.
Well. Maybe.
Most likely, Rumsey's probably still froze.
If you want to run your boat, Andrew, I would go to the new place in Haverty Grace, the Gene Roberts ramp or whatever the hell it's called.
He said, "Damn Yankees."
The river, Susquehanna's open.
Yeah, that new ramp that's open. Those guys have been perch fishing. They said you can run all the way up to Lapidum. Some guys have been running from Lapidum down to the barge.
Yep.
So that's pretty open, but I don't know. I'll be there Sunday. I got somebody coming to look at the Rangers, so that's pretty exciting.
No snow on the ground. We have a potential big snowstorm coming next week, though.
Yeah, I heard about that. So before we move on,
I know Middle River. Just to add on that, I know Middle River, parts of Middle River are still froze.
Are they?
Yeah.
Like the
Scott's, like Scott's Creek still froze.
Like yeah. That's kind of towards the back. I heard Conowingo's still pretty icy too.
I haven't talked to him, Jim.
So before we move on to the next subject,
I keep on seeing Nate post freaking videos of like 3 and 4 pounders he keeps on releasing, so they're catching something.
Yeah, but those are like 1 pounders in Joppatown.
He was talking about Ron and Frank.
Oh.
We were talking. Me and Jim were talking on Ron's Facebook.
Right.
But so I guess before we move on, I guess what are you guys' thoughts on the whole Caymas thing? Is it a red flag to you if they're selling boats at or below production cost?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, what do you think the future is? I think the future is one of two things. They're either ceasing production of bass boats, or they're going to They're going to completely create a new line.
I don't think they'll even create a new line. If they stick around at all, they're just going to slow production to a point that is sustainable.
Or maybe they'll do it like Sterling did, where they didn't produce it unless it was ordered. So like when American Marine Corporation owned the Gambler hulls, the Sterlings, they didn't make them unless you ordered one.
You can drop your price.
That's a hard thing to do if you don't have a...
Dropping prices, you're also going to get more buyers, and you're also going to get more...
Sterling is a...
More people are going to know about it if you got the cheap boat.
Yeah, but I think a company like Caymas, there's a much bigger market for saltwater and center consoles than there are bass boats. So if they can keep producing those and then make their bass boats at like Paul said,
I think they'll just need
at
to
a lower number.
Adjust the number.
I think we had some good points made about mom and pop shops versus the big shops, and being able to what is, like, I think what Greg said earlier, what is cost to them. So we don't know.
Martin said get a quote on one, like an I-team investigation. Ooh, that's actually a good idea. I might hit up Andy and see if Andy's heard anything about Caymas. So
the thing was, I just want to go back to, you said they could go to the route of Sterling and just do them by order. The problem being, Sterling can do that.
Well, they had the backing. American Marine Corporation is huge.
Well, not that they have the backing, but they know, like, the boat is known. Like, people know what they're getting.
That's true.
And I don't think Caymas doesn't have that name.
That's a good point. I think the Sterlings were probably better made than the Gamblers, to be honest with you.
Brian Tershman's Sterling is badass.
That's my favorite boat ever. It really is. It's my favorite boat ever. I've seen it like 3 times.
Just a gambler.
It's insane, dude.
They're good. They're just gamblers.
I don't even know if I've ever seen. I've heard of it. I don't know if I've ever seen it.
Just a gambler.
Yeah, but it's
like,
but they
I
also
feel like that's like the unicorn of boats right now.
It kind of is. They did make a center console Sterling too, which was neat. They had 2 seats packed in the middle, and it was only like 3 of them ever made. Pretty neat.
What's up, Dan?
So we're gonna transition into the next topic tonight, which is the Toyota Series on Pickwick Lake. Now, before we get into this, I want to say this, right? And me and Paul kind of argued a little bit about this before we came on the show in the group chat. But and I'm just talking day one because I have not kept up on it. But we're just talking day one. Day one, we had the top 40 anglers had over 20 pounds. Top 20 had 22 and above. First place is 31 pounds, like 3 ounces or something.
Yeah, and he caught 25 on the second day too.
There were 3 co-anglers that caught a limit.
Dylan Nutt won.
3. Oh, wasn't the 31-pound bag guy? He didn't win?
No, Dylan Nutt caught 30 today.
Wow. So we got massive bags coming out of this place, and
by the way,
3 co-anglers on the first day caught a limit.
So today's the
85 co-anglers blanked.
So I'm glad you mentioned that 85 co-anglers blanked. So I looked at the results and went down and actually counted it up. Sure, 85 co-anglers blanked, but go through and look at the boater results. 55 boaters caught 2 fish or less.
Okay.
So like that just kind of goes to show you that it's not an easy tournament from any side.
And I will agree with that. Because you've made that point. Co is 5 fish. Co is 5 fish, Martin. Now, I think at a minimum we can take all the argument about how the place is fishing out of it, but at a minimum, this is, in my opinion, the case study
That's
of why
absolutely insane.
This is the
what?
Yes, you didn't hear about that?
What?
Yeah,
51 pounds for 5?
Yeah.
Yes.
50.
Yeah.
Dropped a 50 bag in Florida.
Yep. Was it on Okeechobee?
No.
How is that even possible?
Because it's Florida.
It was on
It's possible.
Placid or something. One of those.
That is
so
insane.
My point of this,
he had like an over 60-pound bag
it's a
in
10-pound average.
Yeah.
He had over 60 pounds for his best 5 in Texas.
My point of my
That's over 12 per fish.
The point I'm trying to make with this whole Pickwick thing is that this is the reason why co-anglers are just, the participation sucks. And you can watch the tournament and read all the articles. It's a live scope tournament, but it's also February. So of course it's a live scope tournament.
So let's talk about that too. It's a February tournament on Pickwick.
Of course it's a scope tournament. Yeah, 100%.
If it's not say scope is banned, how many fish do you think are getting caught?
Probably a lot less. Probably a lot less.
Yep.
Probably the way that from what we've heard, the way it's been fishing, probably a lot less. I think it would be even. I think the catch rate would be close. That difference would be closer between the anglers and co-anglers, though.
As far as like number of fish caught.
Yes. I think it would be a lot closer.
Maybe. I mean, again, it's a maybe. Right?
And I heard that the guy that was in first place, or the guy that dropped 21 pounds the first day as a co-angler, had live scope on the back of his boat. I don't know how true that is. That's just what I heard.
One of the 20-pound bags from the first day got disqualified.
For what?
He had five hooks on his A-rig.
Oh,
sucks. You're only allowed three or something.
And that, yeah.
In MLF rules, you're only allowed 3 or 2 or something, whatever it is.
So what's your guys' opinion on that? And again, so yes, we know the place is fishing tough. We know it's a scope tournament. It's a February tournament. But when you have bags up to 20 pounds on the angler side, and 10th place as a co-angler was 9 pounds, I think to me this is the poster child of why we struggle to get co-anglers in major tournaments. I mean, and we know co's from this area that have said it sucks.
So is it?
It's because of the scoping. It's because of the scope issue.
But is it?
What's up, Russ?
But is it an issue that co-anglers are not learning how to adapt? Because there were
how do you adapt?
all total. I mean, there were 5 20+ pound bags in 2 days from co-anglers. So
yes, but there were 40 20-pound bags as anglers.
It doesn't matter, because even
what.
Like and share.
Oh, like and share, yes.
Even
yes.
if you don't say you have
screen, I couldn't see.
Share.
Say you're on a
pointing up. Tony was very confused what I'm.
I didn't
doing.
know.
I'm number one, bitch.
So,
number one. I'm sorry.
You could also say the same on pretty much any offshore tournament that's prior to live scope. Like if it's a Tennessee River ledge tournament, guess what? Co-angler weights are going to suck ass.
Yes,
because they're not going to have an opportunity to make the cast that needs to be made to catch fish.
All right.
They're basically the same boat.
So you brought
where
up
they're sitting out in the middle of nowhere.
What's up, Mr. Ken?
And they don't have anywhere to cast because dude is sitting in line with the juice.
Yeah.
And he's hitting that shell bar up there, and you're casting to 20 feet of sand.
So that brings me to the comment that you just made. You said co-anglers need to adapt. How do you adapt to that?
So personally, and I told Mark Sylvia this earlier today because we were talking about being on the back of the boat with someone scoping, not anything to do with this tournament, just fishing in general. I'm throwing an A-rig all day. If you can't tell me can't tell me if you're around. Interesting. You can't tell me that if you're around suspended fish in open water, that if I throw an Alabama rig all day, which is legal in Toyota Series,
yes,
that I'm not going to get a few bites doing that.
I mean, yeah, but you're not. But we're all right. From what I've read on this tournament, which hasn't been a ton, is these guys are like the guy that caught the 31 pounds the first day. I did read that, and he was saying he's looking at not one piece of structure. He's looking at an area with structure. So he's following fish around on the scope.
I'm interested in that, Jim.
He's casting at a fish every cast, and at that point it becomes a numbers game. So dude's in the strike zone 50% of the time.
But you can't compare boaters and co-anglers. Well, co-anglers are fishing against co-anglers. Boaters are fishing against boaters. It doesn't matter what the boater is doing. The co-angler has to do, despite having live scope on the front of the boat or not having live scope on the front of the boat, the co-angler has to adapt to whatever that boater is doing.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. I any tournament. Yes, I agree.
So if we're on Ontario and we're out in the middle of frickin' nowhere and he's fishing a single rock pile, What am I? I'm in the same situation. This situation isn't new. It's just more prevalent.
So how do you adjust to that? If you were a co-angler on Ontario, St. Lawrence, whatever, and your boater is fishing 3 rock piles the same way all day, what do you do?
You're gonna get. Yeah, I mean, if he's fishing a specific, I think you have a better chance if you're fishing behind somebody that's scoping roaming fish than you do somebody fishing a single rock pile in the middle of the lake. Like if you know there's a school of fish on that rock pile, and you know that I know I can catch 25 pounds off of this one spot. And I don't need to move. I can sit here on spot lock, and I can make one cast, and I will catch 25 pounds today. My co-angler's never getting a chance to cast at fish. Unless there's a random, he catches a random fish, that's on its way to that rock pile.
Sure.
Same thing with brush pile fishing, like on Eufaula. It's the same deal. If you're looking at it as I'm only thinking about myself in the front of the boat, which this is not how I think and when I'm on the front of the boat. If you only think about yourself and you don't give that co-angler an opportunity to catch fish throughout the day, they're not catching fish.
I would agree with that.
Yep, 100%.
I think that's what's happening though.
You can do the same thing shallow. You can fish shallow.
I do. That's 110%.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely chances.
Let's say we're beating the bank. And I know I'm fishing shallow in the morning. I'm fishing a shad spawn on riprap, and I put the boat this far away from the riprap, and I'm trolling motor on 7 going up this riprap. Like you got trolling motor on 7, you think you're casting out the back of the boat to be able to fish?
Hell no.
Nope.
Plus we're blowing it all out.
Yep.
So you're running into the same situation all over. I
would just troll a crankbait the whole time at that point.
No, trolling's illegal. You can't do it.
What?
So I think I think this entire situation comes down more to the attitude of the person in the front of the boat.
But you have to, if you're signing up as a co-angler, that's in the forefront of your mind.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Am I even going to have an opportunity to catch fish? I want to know the guy that had the 30-pound bag. I want to know what his co-angler weighed.
But we can probably look it up.
I'm just curious. Just to see.
If you go into that tournament with that attitude, anyway, you're done anyway.
Right.
You're done.
As a co, I mean, if I was
if you sign up and you're like, oh, I'm probably gonna get paired with some scoper. Guess I ain't catching any fish. You're done.
If I was a co, though, I mean, that would.
It's not wrong though.
Yeah, but
unless dude lets you catch fish, you've even just said it yourself. You're not gonna catch fish.
I said no. Correction. I said if you're fishing offshore structure, like specific structure, you're not going to get to catch fish. If somebody's out in the middle scoping, I think you absolutely have a better chance of catching fish because
not as good of a chance as
he's not hitting. He's not. No. But you can't. The motor has nothing to do with it because you don't have as good a chance of catching a fish, or as good a chance as the boater in any sort of fishing, because the boater's always going to be able to position the boat where he needs to position.
I'd rather be able to throw it to the bank.
But you're not. We know everybody fishes offshore. That we fished offshore before.
But if you don't have live scope, you don't even know what you're throwing at sitting at the back of the boat, and you can't throw up where he's throwing because you.
What were you doing when they were offshore before live scope?
Blind casting to structure.
Same shit that you're doing, like instead of blind casting to structure, you're blind casting to whatever depth range those fish are in.
I think this is why NBN teams.
I think you have a better chance of catching a fish with a scoper that's scoping in the middle of the freaking lake and just bombing an A-rig all day, or a single swim bait, something that you can make a billion casts
or hanging a minnow or something, yeah.
Than you do getting stuck with somebody who's brush pile fishing on Eufaula. Because a guy's fishing a brush pile the size of this table, and guess what? He's pulling up straight to it.
Yeah.
And it's directly in front of the boat.
Yeah.
You have zero cast at that.
Do you think that this is predominantly the reason why we're struggling to get co-anglers in a lot of major tournaments?
I think the perception of it.
We've had local people come out and say that is one of the reasons that they don't fish the tournaments anymore.
But I also think
as co-anglers.
I also think it's
co-anglers.
I also think it's the attitude of the boaters,
which is a roll of the dice.
Right.
Well, no, I'm not as a whole, the attitude of the boaters is impacting the number of co-anglers. Because if you're a decent human being, you're going to give them a shot to catch fish. And Ken said, yeah, you need to be able to capitalize, on
what if you don't have your 5?
Chance. So, like Ken said, when you're out there scoping, like if you know they're grouped up and there's possibly fish following into the boat, as soon as that fish comes in the boat, doop, chuck that drop shot right over the side of the boat. Because fish will follow them to the boat all the time. But it's like Ken said, as you run a chance of getting fucked by the boater. I mean, Ken, I know a specific tournament that Ken fished that he got fucked by his boater and they were in a 1.5 foot of water.
What's up, LJ?
Yeah, I mean it happens.
So. That's where I go with the attitude of the boater really has a lot to do.
And it's a good point because I can tell you that the tournament on the Gunpowder, the club tournament last year that I won with MS-18, if I had a guy on the back of my boat, I don't know that he would have caught a fish.
So
I can't say that he would have caught a fish.
You want to hear my theory?
Sure.
My theory is that not only did forward-facing sonar affect co-anglers, because it did. I'm not saying that it didn't. When they started calling boaters pros in the BFLs, I feel like it completely changed the attitude of boaters. Okay. You're not a pro.
That's a statement. That is a statement. I don't know that I agree with that statement because that went back to the FLW days.
Yes.
All right. That's an interesting point. I never actually considered that. But this is why, in my opinion,
because here's the thing: we as fishermen, we are all super competitive and ego-driven,
and bitches.
So when now you start getting, going up to the weigh-in stage, and they start saying pro angler Tony Schultz.
No one's ever said that, by the way.
Your ego just you go fish a BFL.
Damn. I might do that just to hear that.
Right. Because it inflates the ego. We all have big egos. I have a big ego. Tony has a big ego when it comes to fishing. So
I have a Ranger.
It's very it's very I think that was kind of a initiating factor of the assholedness of boaters, because there are a lot of boaters that just think that you need, as a co-angler, you should be sitting in the back of the boat trying to learn, and there's a lot of those people that think that have no good reason to think that.
Well, yeah,
because the co in the back of the boat is probably a better angler than you.
Okay, so let's dig into that for a second. I think that I don't agree with that, but I could see why people would think that. It's just in the opens.
Just a theory.
In the opens, where you got guys that are on the bubble of the Elite Series, maybe have been in an Elite Series, maybe have been on the tour.
As far as the learning part?
Sure, yeah, yes. Okay. Like you got guys that have maybe made the Elite Series a year or two and didn't make the cut, and now they're back in the opens. I could maybe get that. Right. But it's a BFL. I mean, for Christ's sake. I mean...
Some people, right, and that attitude. I mean, I've seen that attitude come down all the way down into that BFL level, and it's one thing, like you said, it's one thing on the opens. These guys are trying to, they're trying to qualify and fish for a living. That's one of the reasons that I'm not too salty about them removing co-anglers from the opens.
Yeah, yep.
Because these 150 guys are legitimately trying to be professionals in the sport.
That's also part of the reason why I'm not going to fish the open on the Chesapeake Bay, because I'm not competing for anything.
Right.
It would just be to fish the open, and that's also it's a huge price tag. But
I mean,
I personally, it's like I don't like the SQTs. Like
$45,000.
I could fish the SQTs, and I might fish them, but if I can't fish 2 out of the 4, there's no reason for me to fish the SQTs because I'm fishing the SQTs to make the state team. If I can't do that anyway, there's no point in fishing them. Just my opinion. But yeah, I actually think it's an interesting point about what you said about, calling them pros and stuff like that. It's interesting. I never thought about that.
Everybody, and the internet hasn't helped with that.
No, not at all.
Like Jim just said right there, that's why every asshat with a big glass boat gets a sponsor wrap and they only fish the weekends and they're a wannabe pro. Look at every BFL, watch every person that walks across the stage.
Right.
Almost, 85% of them, jersey, logos all over them. Which is funny because the best fishermen that I know, like personally, like you never see that from them.
Oh yeah,
Like that's what I find funny. Yep. One of them was watching earlier.
Yep. No, you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. And there's definitely, like, you had a good point. The ego is a huge part of this discussion and all fishing discussions when it comes to tournaments, especially anything BFLs and above. That's part of the reason why I like fishing the club stuff so much, is because we're just having fun. We're just having fun, and it's like everyone, for the most part, has the same opportunities to go out and practice, and it's like, it is what it is. It's not like we're all trying to fish for. Don't get me wrong; it's competitive. I take it seriously. I enjoy fishing
I'm
competitively against those guys, but it's like it's not like the winner of this gets to go to the classic or nothing like that.
But I also, if I have somebody in the back of my boat, like if one of the riders in my club is in the back of my boat, I'm going to make sure that they catch fish.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm 100% going to make sure that they catch fish. That's my goal. Like my goal for the day, if I have a rider, because we don't have as many riders as we have boaters. So if I have a rider, my goal is that day is make sure my rider catches fish.
Yep.
And I'm going to do everything that I can to help them and, put them in a position to be able to do that. And if I have to fish something where I'm kind of front ending them, I'm going to make sure that I give them an opportunity later in the day where I give them like the good, the good shot at something.
Right.
Because it's a club, right? Like,
yeah.
And I do the same thing. I do the same thing in SQTs.
I like, and that's
as long as the person in the back of the boat gives me the same respect.
And I was actually going to go to the SQTs for a second. I think the SQTs going to the team format, not necessarily because of live scope, because there's really only one place around here where you can effectively live scope all day and have a good chance at catching them, and that's Conowingo. Deep Creek, Big Slack, but
Yakagani.
Yeah, but
that's those type.
We don't go there. We don't really go there a lot.
One SQT a year there.
Right.
Always.
I like the fact that, like, I can tell you right now, in the Conowingo Opens, 99% of the time, me and Miles are fishing on the front of the boat together, whether it's my boat, his boat, or whatever. A lot of that's because of forward-facing sonar, because we're making specific casts or specific structure.
I will, me and even pre-forward-facing sonar, I would say that probably 50% of the time, when me and Frank were fishing team tournaments, we were both fishing in the front of the boat.
Yeah.
Because it's easier for... It's a team, right? It's easier for me, like, if I'm running the boat, it's easier for me to position the front of the boat than worry about having to position the front of the boat and the back of the boat.
Right.
So if you're up fishing with me, it makes it way easier on me controlling the boat. So I would rather, if we're fishing a team tournament, have you in the front.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. 100%. Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation. I mean, I wonder where the future lies with co-anglers in tournaments, especially I'm talking like grassroots, and the BFL still kind of grassroots, but like in grassroots tournaments, like what does the future of the co-angler look like? And take that away from our area, because BFL's in our area. You got the Potomac, you got the Upper Bay, James River, stuff like that. But in other places, I mean, if you're even the Piedmont division where you're fishing Smith Mountain Lake, maybe Lake Anna, I mean, those are scope heavy places. I don't know. I think it's creating an interesting dynamic of fishing that we haven't seen in quite a while. Now, there were always guys that were getting screwed over. Like, even in the opens when they were last year, there were guys in my club that fished it as codes, and they were like, yeah, I had a dickhead boater. They weren't even using scope.
One of those boaters got disqualified because of one of the guys in your club.
Correct. Correct.
Deservedly.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody, everybody jumps into this open like they're a professional angler. It's just, I think the biggest problem with fishing right now is the people that are fishing, and the mindset that they have, and I think a lot of factors have contributed to that, but there's very, very little respect between anglers these days, and I think you can agree with that, right?
I can agree with that. From tournament fishing to recreational fishing.
Well, and I would say that Facebook, Instagram, like those have, that has just spearheaded that, lack of respect. Like I want to know when, like it's kind of funny because
thanks for the share, Warren. Welcome to the show.
Like 10, 15 years ago, like you go out on the flats and there might be like 2 or 3 boats like fishing next to each other, and then like 5 or 6 years ago, it was 100 boats next to each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then like so 6 or maybe say 6 or 7 years ago it was like that, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's Upper Bay and Potomac, but the same people fishing them, it's it's the same, and then you look at like a tournament in Alabama and like same shit's happening. Like it all of a sudden happened and then just spread.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I will say one of the only places where you really don't see a lot of that's on Conowingo.
On the shore.
Yeah, the shore too. But
I've had very, very few bad run-ins with people on the shore.
I can tell you right now, if you like it, even in the grass, if you sit close to somebody like it's normal and widely accepted on the Potomac and on the flats on Conowingo, like words are going to be said, which I kind of like that up there because everyone's doing their own thing, and we know like.
Does anybody want this last course?
I'm good for right now.
Yeah, why not?
But my thing is like I like how up there there's an unspoken respect rule up there where it's like. In the fall, I know where Herb's fishing. I'm not going to fish there. I know where he fishes.
Except for one particular person that has a red aluminum Ranger.
I've never witnessed it. I've heard people say it. I've never witnessed it, though. But, like...
Ask Miles.
Never... Me and Miles have never had an instance on Conowingo Opens where we have ever, like, been like, wow, that dude was way too close. Like ever. We've never had that happen.
The funny, I don't know if I told you this, but that same person in the same exact spot, and it's funny because in our club tournament in November, Mike Powers was literally sitting on the waypoint where me and Miles, this guy pulled up on me and Miles, and he pulled up on he saw Mike catch a fish and like started circling him.
Really?
That is so like. You know how I get with that.
Oh, our experience is one of the funniest ones ever.
We have one of the craziest experiences ever.
The one with Tom.
I don't know what the guy's name was.
The little Asian dude.
Bass Cat.
Yes. Yeah. And we and Chad were fishing in Furnace in like 4 or 5 years ago in May, right? And we were slaying them. We were whacking the shit out of them.
Just destroying.
And it was just it was a Wednesday afternoon.
It was for. Well, we were pre-fishing, but it was like 4 days before the tournament.
Before my club tournament.
It was like Tuesday or something.
Yeah. And like we were sitting there whacking them, dude. I had the poles down, and like this dude just pulled up right next to us.
Ruining these fish.
Like right next. I'm talking like I could have put my Senko in his boat.
He cut through the grass patch that we were catching the fish in.
I think.
Yeah. And that's when I was just like, I looked at Tony and I was like, I'm gonna say something.
And
I'm gonna.
Here's
he's like it's not worth it.
Here's it never is. Never is.
Here's what because I know him, and he said if he had known he was doing something wrong, I know, like he wouldn't have intentionally tried to do something to hurt you. Then like one of the,
I get it.
I think, here in, I'm going somewhere with this. So people who are less experienced with fishing in crowds or fishing around other people, they get, they have somebody, so that happens to them, right?
And they don't know it's wrong.
So they don't know it's wrong because, people just keep pulling in on them. So
I
they're
could
like,
see
oh,
that.
well, this is just what people do.
I could see
and
that.
I honestly think that is what's happened for a majority, or maybe not a majority, but a very large portion of people.
Yeah, my first year ever fishing the flats with Team Outcast, there was a couple times on the back channel, because that was the only place I knew at the time, where boats would come in, because we always launch early. Boats would come in and it would get crowded, and I would just leave. And I would like bitch at the weigh-ins, and I think it was John Jedry and maybe Clint. They were like, "Yeah, that's kind of how it goes around here." And I was like, "Wait, that's normal? Like, I didn't know. Oh, I guess that's a thing." Like,
I don't know if you remember me just being like, we were out. I think we were out doing something one day, and there was a tournament going on, and we were fishing, and
exactly.
Remember how like uncomfortable I was like passing people, and you were just like, "You're fine," and I'm just like, I just feel like this is like, even though we were like 30 yards, 40 yards.
was this on the bay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was last year.
It was last year,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, we're like, you're like, dude, it's just like everybody is in this freaking clustered shit,
so
and I'm just like,
I feel like my rule of thumb is like, if I'm fishing here and you're fishing here, and I make a normal cast and you make a normal cast, and like our baits meet, like that's the limit for how close we should be.
Yeah, agreed.
Like not like a bomb cast, out there.
it's
but
not like that though. Like people are,
No, it's
people
not.
are
I
freaking.
had a really bad one last year.
People are 20
I'm not afraid-
yards. People
I'm
are
not afraid
20
to-
yards from each other.
I'm not afraid to let people know either.
I had a really bad one
Like,
last year, and I didn't say anything, and I wish I did, because I was so like dumbfounded that it happened. I was just like in disbelief. But I was sitting on a grass at low tide.
Oh, the guys that cut ahead of you and they started coming towards you.
On the back channel. Get this, right? On the back channel, I'm sitting in a pile of grass where I knew there were fish. I got second in the tournament in the club. So I was on the right fish. And I'm sitting there. It was a tough day, and I'm throwing a Texas rig Senko, like throwing it out and dragging it. Just old school type of shit. Poles are down. And I caught 4 or 5 of them. I only kept like maybe 1 or 2. There was just a pot of fish in that area. So this dude behind me was in an express, like a 17-foot express or something. And he's coming up the edge of the grass where I was fishing. My poles are down. I never moved. This dude like got probably 20 yards behind me, put the trolling motor on 100, got about 20 yards in front of me, and then started fishing the grass edge. And I'm like, there ain't no way.
John,
I was bewildered. I was like, there's just no. And then he's like trying to talk to me. I'm like, what are you doing?
I have a very important question for John. Was that guy fishing that dock there before you were? Because if he was, you were too close to him. I will never roll up within a cast of someone fishing from the bank.
Yeah.
I have just as much respect for somebody fishing from the bank as I do from somebody fishing from a boat. If they're fishing from the bank, even if I want to fish that area, like, they were there first, no big deal.
Scott has a good comment. Scott says, was fishing an old concrete dock outside of Mattawoman on the Potomac. Sea rig hangs up, loading the rod to shake it free, and a guy sees me, does a 180 thinking he's fighting a fish. So he plays it close. The guy gets there, says, "Sorry, I was hung up," and then the guy left.
That's hilarious.
You see it though. Jim says, guys, that post I put up with the Matha Lake because I was joking about a spot that's 25 foot round, and the guy basically was spotlighting them. Here's a shiner hole with money on the lake. Now everyone has a fair chance.
So he got blocked off the page by his so-called friend.
So I saw Jim.
So F you. He posts a freaking map of every hole on there.
I saw that, dude. I saw that, and I was about to message Jim. I was like, Jim, are you good? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't know, man. I saw that. I was like, what is happening right now?
That is great. I find that incredibly funny because I got banned from a snakehead page one time, and I don't even remember what the name of the snakehead page was, but somebody
that's terrible.
They started talking. You know, it was a snakehead page, and they're talking about spot burning on the Potomac, and like they like banned. They banned somebody because he said he caught a fish in like one plate. Like it was like a stupid. It was like the back of, oh shit, what's that creek down below the creek down below Greenway?
Po Monkey.
Po Monkey. Yeah. So it was like everybody knows there's snakeheads in there, right?
Yeah, of course.
So, so I pulled up Google Maps and pinpointed every spot on the Potomac that I had caught a snakehead in, and just posted it on the site. And was like, "Here, this is every place on the Potomac I've ever caught a snakehead."
I have not caught a snakehead on the Potomac.
Immediately banned. I got so many messages after that. It was like, "Hey, can I get that screenshot?"
It's crazy the amount of people that you see are just like, you guys catch any snakehead? I'm like, no.
John says Steve looked at a guy wrong in Santee and asked if he wanted to fuck him. What?
Yeah, I heard about that.
What?
So Steve gave the guy like a funny look, and the guy was like, "You want to fuck me?"
Steve looked at the guy, and apparently the guy asked him if he wanted to fuck us.
That's awesome.
Dude,
that guy's my hero.
I will always maintain the thought of like, I have way too much confrontation in my job.
I just know Scuba Steve, and I could just see Scuba just be like, what?
I have way too much confrontation in my career. It's like, when I go fishing, dude, I don't need to fight anybody. Like, God damn it. Like, it's so dumb. But it's like so many times, like, people just do weird shit out there. It's like, what are you doing, man?
I'm pretty spiteful when somebody's trying to be like shady on the water and like cut you off and like sneak around into a spot that you're obviously fishing.
What do you think people think when we're out on the flats and we're casting at each other's boat trying to catch a fish off each other's boat? Because me and Paul have a running bet to see who can catch a fish off of somebody's boat.
I got so mad on the Potomac one day that I exploded a $60 rattle trap on the back of somebody's cowling.
That was with Jim Goins, right? Yeah, I heard that story. That's pretty funny.
That was the worst that I've seen some pretty bad things out on the flats. That's the worst that I've ever seen. I mean, me and Jim were literally a cast apart, and Jim is casting at my boat. Like, he is fishing the grass in between my boat and his. We're both sitting power pole down over. I don't know, why can't I think of anything on the Potomac now? Like, I'm just
Quantico?
No, Belmont. We're over outside of Belmont. And we're both power pole down, and we're just like having conversation. And I'm fishing out this way, Jim's fishing this way, my co-angler's fishing that way, Jim's co-angler's fishing all the opposite side of his boat. And this dude like comes around the back, like up like toward the bank, and then just like comes around, and like literally starts like fishes his way in between our two boats. Like I could have tossed Jim a pack of cigarettes. We were that close.
Right.
And we were like, we were cool with it. Like, and this guy just comes in between us, and he's just like fishing. I was just like casting out in front of him. So I reached down. It was a Rayburn Red Excalibur too, and I was throwing a brush hog, put my brush hog down, picked my rattle trap up, and just started throwing across his trolling motor, like literally like this far in front of his trolling motor.
Just gonna wrap it up in his
like prop. I'm just throwing in front of his trolling motor, like every cast, my line is landing this far in front of his trolling motor, and he's just like oblivious. He's just like keeps fishing, still casting. Finally, he gets up about 30-ish feet in front of me and Jim, and just stops, and he's just sitting there, and I just looked at my co-angler in the back and looked back at him. And I just pulled back and just fired this rattle trap as hard as I could into the back of his cowling. And that rattle trap exploded. And he never said a word. He just picked up his trolling motor, put his rod down, strapped it down, and idled off.
Nice.
There's no way he didn't hear that.
Oh, he definitely heard it.
Oh, he heard it. For sure.
Probably got the message loud and clear.
I'm not quite that angry anymore. Like, but yeah,
That's a little ridiculous.
It was a $60. It was a $60 rattle trap.
What?
Yeah, they don't make them anymore.
Oh well, it probably wasn't that much then.
This wasn't that long ago. This was only 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh shit.
What was an Excalibur? They're pretty pricey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are, well, they used to be cheap, but yeah, I've had situations like that. Me and Rob Steiner were fishing on the flats one day, and I'm fishing a patch of milfoil that's like the size of this room, and like I'm power poled down just fishing this patch of milfoil, and this Pennsylvania boat like comes around behind me and like he's going around me, like no big deal, right? And he gets around the side of me and starts casting into this patch of milfoil that I'm like a half a cast from.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob just starts laughing. He's like, what the F? And I looked over and was like, hey man, you want to just fish in my boat? And he's like, huh? I was like, oh yeah, why don't you just come over here, jump on my boat? And then Rob just starts geeking in the back of the boat. And this guy was like, oh, what are you talking about? I'm just going by. I was like, then stop fucking casting.
Yeah. I'm a huge proponent of that. It's if you're getting into a tight spot and you're going to go past people that are fishing close, I put the rod down and I'll go by, and then once I'm far enough.
Oh, what do you got, Scott?
What is WRMG?
White River Marine Group.
Ooh, yeah, we want to know that. Can we send Scott a link? Scott, do you want to join us on the podcast, or do you just want to type out what you got?
We can send you a link if you want.
We can send you an easy clink link.
Let us know, man. If you want to talk it live, we're happy to send it to you.
Too late, I'm sending him a link.
All right, we're sending Scott a link. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I'm definitely, and like I'll tell people, like if I'm fishing with buddies that aren't tournament fishermen, like if we're out on the flats and there's a group that we're going by, I'll say, hey, put your rod down until we get past them and then start fishing again.
So, in one of our club tournaments one time, Ken Berry, I'll never forget this. Ken Berry was fishing with Ron, and they're fishing this one spot, and they're casting toward the bank, and another guy.
Check your messages, Scott.
Comes up and starts talking to them, and then like cuts inside of them and starts fishing. And Ron just looks back at Ken and goes, "If you ever get a boat, don't freaking do that."
Yeah. That's.
We can send you a link if you want to just come on and talk about it, Scott.
If you have a
depending on how good your connection is.
Yeah, that and I don't know. When you fish small areas like the gunpowder though, it's
right, like
it's going to happen.
You know, we hopscotch different stretches. You know, like if we're going to stretch in the Quarry Canal and there's 6 or 7 laydowns like right here, and you're fishing in those. Like I'm just going to go to the next set of laydowns and I'm going to start fishing. Mm-hmm. But like I'm going to give you those 6 or 7 laydowns in that stretch. Like I'm not going to start fishing the same exact stretch you are.
Right.
I'm going to might go 100 yards up and start fishing, but. Yeah, that was very early in your Riverette's career. That was hilarious. That was the first year that I had my champion, because that was the day that I caught 22 pounds.
That was your first ever day with the champion?
My first tournament in the champion. I set our club record with
that's pretty awesome.
22.17 pounds.
So Scott says, 2 weeks ago, Triton plant moved to Ranger. 24 employees and plant manager gone. Ranger sales down. 520 yards of flop. 175 TX bestseller. That's the tracker 175 TX.
Probably the Ranger aluminum.
No, the Ranger's a 178.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, there's a 188, a 198. I don't even know that they make a 17-foot aluminum Ranger. I know that they make 18, 19, and the 20, the 208. I'm pretty sure the 175 TX is the tracker, but I could be wrong.
I mean, it could be.
24 down. Ranger sales are down. The 520 is flat.
A lot of people that I've talked to in the industry over the years they have said that Triton's the next White River Marine boat to go.
Yeah, I've heard this. I've heard that recently.
Yeah.
And I think last year was when a lot of people started saying that too, was because a lot of the Triton pros went to Phoenix.
They have a 178.
Yeah.
Ranger.
Yeah. I mean, And this kind of circles back to the whole Caymas conversation, but it's like, what is it that these boats do? What is it that a Triton does that a Ranger or Nitro does not do? I don't understand. Scott says they're dropping other models to focus on their two models, 208 and the new Tracker. Info from the plant manager directly. Morgan, what's up, man?
Morgan Oliver with Prop Dynamics in the house.
Morgan.
What's up, bro?
So we're getting back into boats, but we're talking about boat companies that are having trouble or potentially going away. I honestly think, and I don't have any reason or data to back this up, so I'll say that I do think that Falcon may be one of the boat companies that we see go away in the next couple years. Because here's the thing, right? And this is pure conjecture, and Morgan, I'm not putting you on the spot because I'm sure they told you some stuff that you're not at liberty to share. But when a boat company says we're not carrying a dealer anymore, but that usually means there's a reason.
The reason that
it was the amount
that was
of boats
posted
they wanted on the
is
floor.
they wanted more boats on the floor. So that's a little bit different. You know, their business plan just seems like it's a little bit different than them not selling boats, right? From that, and that's from what, you know, coming from the Propeller Dynamics website, or, you know, that we heard the other day.
Yeah, I mean,
or something, wherever we heard that.
I don't know, man. When a dealer, when a boat company says we're not carrying you as a dealer, they're going to come up with any reason at all other than saying, hey, like, the money's not working out. You know what I mean? They're going to say whatever they want that's not financially backed of a reason to say this is why we're dropping you. That's just my opinion. I'm not a boat dealer, never have been. That's just my opinion.
It could go, I mean, that could go either way. It depends on a lot of it depends on the company that you're dealing with too.
Sure.
You know.
I want to know, like, has Nitro or Ranger or Bass Cat, have they pulled any dealers recently? Probably not. You know, I don't know that Falcon is selling that many boats to the point where they're really doubling down on that inventory.
From what I understand, for a lot of these boat dealers, is it costs them a lot of money.
Scott agrees with kind of your point. Falcon's doing a power play back like OMC did in the day.
Didn't Skeeter do that also? I think Skeeter did that at one point.
Robbins lost Triton. Robbins, I'm guessing that's a dealership.
Yeah. Robbins is trash.
So I haven't seen any Falcons. I've never actually seen. I might have seen one when the Opens were here a couple years ago. I've never actually seen one.
I know of a couple. Tom Bateman has a Falcon. Jim Rice has a Falcon. There's a couple around here.
Are there? Yeah. Okay. I mean, I haven't seen them. Fishing for Dollars says very rare to see a Falcon down on Table Rock.
That makes sense. I mean, it's a South Carolina company,
right?
You know, so I will say that. I
don't know. Like, if you're trying to increase if you're trying to increase market share, and I'm not a business guy, but like, why would you cut dealers, especially if you're based out of South Carolina and you have a dealer that's outside of your scope? I mean, if you sell 2 boats there, that's a win, right? Like, I don't understand it, but I'm not in the industry. I'm not a dealer, so I personally don't see that angle to why you would drop a dealer that's not necessarily in your wheelhouse of where you're selling boats.
I mean, unless you have enough demand for your boats that, you know, that you can put them on the showroom floor, they're going to sell, and it's going to be better for you to have stock on the showroom floor versus somebody ordering them. Because that way your stock's going to your... They don't have to say anything.
Please don't share anything that could get you in trouble. We're Monday morning court.
We're speculating.
Yeah, this is absolutely 100% speculation on this. I don't know. I just, you know, and the reason I say that is because Falcon's a new company. The industry's doing what the industry's doing. And we've seen 2 companies, one company cease to make boats, another one potentially ceasing to make boats with Caymas. You know, all the signs are leading to these companies, particularly newer ones, are having trouble.
Here's another thing to think about too. You know, any company wants to see growth year over year.
Yeah.
Right? So if they're not sustaining growth and they're just kind of going status quo, they've kind of went stagnant. Maybe it's a deal, something that they want. And I'm, again, just speculating. I have zero knowledge about this, but that maybe they're trying to do something to stimulate their sales. And if you get, let's be honest. And I mentioned this the other day when we were talking about this. If you are probably 90% more likely to make a sale if you can put the product into the buyer's hands.
Yes.
So if you don't have the model, the specific model that person is looking for, guess what? They're going to go to a dealer that has it, and where they can look at it and they can get it. And once they leave your dealership, they're not coming back.
Let me ask this question. So, and Morgan, if you can answer this, great. If not, just say you can't answer it. How many?
Like Morgan said, 23 to 24 was rough for everyone.
How many Falcons were roughly like if it's above, rounded to a 5 number, right? Like 5, 10, 15, 20. How many Falcons was Propeller Dynamics selling a year? That's what I want to know. Because if you're telling me you're selling 30 boats a year, and they're saying, "Hey, we're not carrying you anymore,"
Ken, I am very unhappy with the O's off season right now. Let's not talk about that.
Oh my God, we're getting into that. So, but again, it's like, okay, so what does Falcon gain from dropping a dealer that has a reputation, a good reputation, which we know Propeller Dynamics does, even if their goal is we want models on the show floor. You still have a dealer that's full of competent people that has a good reputation. So what do you gain by saying, no, we're not going to sell your boats here anymore?
So if you have a dealer, so let's say their factory can only make 20 boats a year.
Okay.
For example, I'm just spitballing a number here. So my factory can only make 20 boats a year. So I have these 4 dealers. I have 5 dealers right now. 4 of these dealers can keep 5 of my models on the floor at all times. I can only make 20 boats a year anyway. Cutting out this dealer that can only have maybe 1 model and orders a lot of boats versus these who are selling boats that we have to make that we don't have to make to order.
Okay.
I can understand, like, from a business standpoint, that making some sort of sense.
I see what you're saying. That is a good point. It is a good point. I definitely see what you're saying.
Because I can only make so many, any boat manufacturer can only make so many boats a year.
Now the counterpoint to that is if you want a showroom floor, why don't you just put your flagship on the floor at Propeller Dynamics? The F-21 Predator loaded out.
But that doesn't help you as much as a dealer having the 21 Predator, the 20 TE, the 118,
and then you got the F series, the F-21, the F-205,
the F-201, the F-205, the F-198. Yes. So if that dealer can have all of those models on the showroom, they can now show a customer coming in. You want a 19-foot boat? Boom, here you go. You want a 20-foot boat? Here you go.
Sure.
Instead of being like, and again, I'm just. No, you're fine. Don't say anything. We're totally speculating here, and I'm just kind of spitballing like ideas of why a company might want to do something like this. So it's from a business standpoint, like if I have a dealer that has all of my models on the floor and they can pinpoint it versus a dealer that maybe only has 1 or 2 on the floor. And then has to go, well, if you want this model, it's not going to have this, and it's not going to have this. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Was your boat at Town Marine, was that a boat that was in stock that you bought, or did you order it?
It was in stock.
Okay. So, proves your point.
I don't know. To be fair, I never looked at it.
Yeah, but I'm sure. But I can see what you're saying, where it's helpful to be able to look at it. Like a nitro, whatever nitro you want.
Not everybody's like me either.
You know what I mean?
I researched boats for 2 years. I ridden in different boats. The reason that I wanted that particular model of Skeeter is because I had fished out of that model of Skeeter exactly same year and everything.
Right.
And so I already knew what I was getting. I would say that most people buying boats don't know what they're,
Yeah.
they don't do that. They don't do that much research. They don't fish in as many boats. So
Yeah.
I can kind of understand from a business standpoint, like wanting to go that route. However, like if you have a good relationship with a business and they're making sales for you, it doesn't seem very logical to move away from that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's
like,
how I see it.
Who knows the reasons? I don't know.
And then you got companies like Phoenix who have no signs of trouble at all. I think it's just because they make so many boats. But I want to get into that. We didn't actually touch on this.
Somebody mentioned earlier. I think Josh mentioned earlier about the Nitro Tournament rewards. Phoenix contingencies are, especially with them being involved with the BFLs, kind of like
yeah,
a few years ago.
Right.
When you win a BFL and you get an extra $7,000, like for winning the BFL, like that's pretty serious.
Yeah.
A Toyota Series is like an extra. That's like an extra $30,000.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're fishing those circuits, like
it makes sense,
and you have you're a good enough angler that you have an opportunity to win those types of tournaments, you would almost be, it would almost be kind of stupid to not run a Phoenix.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because
or Nitro.
Look how much money you would be leaving on the table.
Yep. Yeah. Or
Nitro. Yeah. Like Nitro contingencies don't touch Phoenix.
But they're probably second behind Phoenix. I don't know.
Skeeter contingency is pretty good too, but it's only for 2 years.
Yeah, so that has a lot to do with it too. Now, surprisingly we didn't touch on this when we talked about the Caymas when we started the show, but I want to know how much of the boat market is built on hype. I think a lot of it's built on hype. And what I mean by this is, and this goes back to a comment that was made when we were last night talking about Caymas in the group chat, and I was like, one of our friends that says he doesn't have a very high opinion on the boat, and someone else was like, well, it's Earl Bent's boat. Okay, does the fact that it's built by Earl Bent's trump any sort of? Are we not hard enough on these boat manufacturers? That's my question. I don't think we are. I don't think we're. Right, but I don't think. I think we assume that. Oh well, it's an Earl, and it doesn't matter. It could be Earl Bent's. It could be Ranger. It could be Bullet. People say, "Oh well, it's a this. It's going to be great."
Yeah,
is it though?
I think you make a good point because you get that name association to that brand, and. Like, you're pulling that name association from 20 years ago.
I agree. Ranger's a prime example. 20 years ago, the Ranger was the shit. They were the cream of the crop. Every boat they made was awesome. The 518 was a revolution. The 521 VX was amazing. And that laid the foundation for what they did. Skeeter, I think Skeeter has a really good following, and they still make a quality boat. I think everyone would agree. Bass Cat's one that where you could say it's a Bass Cat. It's going to be made well.
You get a lot
of people agree.
You get a lot of local following too.
Yeah.
Like depending on like where a manufacturer is located.
Right.
Yeah. I go back to this conversation to me leads back to Champion, and I say that because the Champion hull. Now, before I go further, you've said this multiple times, and I don't know exactly what it is, so I apologize because I'm ignorant. What is a splashed hull?
So when you take an already made boat and you make a mold out of that already made boat.
Okay.
So you take a Champion 210. So to make the Charger 210, they took a Champion 210 and they did what they called splashing the hull. And splashing the hull is making a mold of that hull, which ruins that boat. Like that boat is no longer any good. Mm-hmm. But it makes a hull mold of that boat.
Sure.
Which allows them to make a new mold for that boat that's essentially exactly the same as the original mold.
Okay. And my point is, and I'm not going to sit here and say that Champion's not a great boat because they are. I fished out of yours. We've seen the boats from JCS Marine. Champion obviously is a great boat, and it's a legend. It's a hall. If there were Hall of Fame bass boats, Champion's in there in the top 3 for sure.
If you ask
sure,
if you ask anyone who was around during when Champion was still around. Say if you ask 100 people what the best riding boat ever was, 70% of them are going to say Champion.
Especially, like late 90s through the mid 2000s, the Champion was sought after.
203.
Now, my thing is, I feel like the reason why Charger may have had some difficulties is because there were so many people that loved Champion, and I'm going to put Paul on the spot here. You loved your Champion. I loved your Champion.
Yeah.
But you didn't get another Champion hull.
Oh, it's too expensive. I told you
Sure.
in our text message, I would have 100% bought, if I would have bought a Charger 203 Elite had it not been.
So
Kevin must have went to the Mexican restaurant tonight.
The point that I'm trying to make is I feel like
got that El Patron buzz.
So so when I was looking at boats, the 203 Elite Charger was like $92,000, and like that was way out of my price range.
Sure.
So I wasn't buying that. Had I waited a year and seen that they were selling for $62,000, like I 100% would own one right now, over the Skeeter. But that's the sole reason that I didn't get another Champion hull was just because it was out of my price range and I wanted a brand new boat.
My point, the point that I'm trying to make, and again, it's conjecture, right? The point of it is like
also out of my. I looked at those two, Scott. That was also out of my price range.
If the boat hull was that amazing, nobody would have a problem selling them. The bottom line is, with the exception of the 203 hybrid, nobody's making a Champion hull right now.
Well, there's also the cost factor.
Okay.
Costs a lot of money to make new molds, right?
Yes.
So you have to be able to outweigh the cost factor as well. Basscat spent years designing that hull to modify it to Basscat.
I'm going to say this, and maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I want to know your all thoughts on this, but I'm going to say if you took Charger,
it sure does, Bob. The Cougar and the Puma, I think you can both get with the hybrid hull.
If Charger had the ability to make all of the Champion hulls and pump out the same amount of numbers that Champion did in its heyday, I still don't think they would have made as many. I don't think they would have sold as many. And the reason I think that is because I think so many people are diehard Champion fans, but they're not that diehard to the point where whoever's making a Champion hull, that's what I'm going to get.
Well, there's also the diehard Champion guys. Also, most of them
are still running their Champion.
They're still running their Champion, and they understand that their boat built in 2001, 99 was built better than boats are built today because of the quality of materials.
Yeah, the resin, that's a big thing too.
Hence why we go to JCS Marine.
True. But yeah, it's so interesting because I made the comment earlier that certain hulls have been around for 20 years. I'm wearing the Bullet sweatshirt, so I'll say the 20XD has been around forever. The Ranger 518, it has changed, but it's been around.
On the 20XD?
No, the 20XD that you get now is basically the same boat, same deck layout, same hull. Maybe some minor modernizations like switches and things like that.
Good point. I think some of why you don't get a big transition over into like the Charger from Champion is they didn't really update the deck layout. Like a Charger 210 Elite, aside from the panel, is basically the same as a Champion 210 from the mid 2000s. The deck layout's exactly the same.
I think the problem
it might be you might have a little more storage space in there, but it doesn't have a modern layout like a Basscat or a Phoenix.
I think and as we talk through this, I think my point is I think the Champion of the early 2000s was a revolutionary boat that was the best, comparably better. But now the fact that hulls remain unchanged and you can get a comparable ride, you can get a better deck layout from other brands.
Right.
even if you love a champion, why?
The gap's closed.
Exactly. I think that's what it comes down to. And it's unfortunate because it doesn't take away from the 203 and the 202 and the 223 and the 221. Those boats are awesome. It doesn't take that away. Bullet's on the same thing. Bullet, yes, you can still get a 21 XD, but if you look at their website and most of the boats they sell, they're the upgraded layout with more room for graphs, and so they've kind of played that to where if you want the classic, we'll make you the classic, but if you want the classic attributes with the modern amenities, we can do that too.
Yeah, that's one thing that I noticed with the Charger 210. You mentioned graphs. It's not the console layout doesn't really play nice with modernization of graphs. Yeah, like where most people are running, say like 2 12-inch units at the console and two up front. Frank has a 15 at the console. Mounted to the console, he has another 12 off to the side that's mounted on a different mount, but his 15 at the console covers his gauges. Yeah, like so you have to like if you want to see your gauges, like you got to look like behind and underneath to see the gauges. It's not.
You're basically getting an old boat that's new.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I think that says a lot.
And for today's price.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, you're looking at a $90,000 boat,
right?
So why would I buy a $90,000 boat that I can't I can't set up with a modern the modern standard. I'm going to say quote unquote standard.
Well, I think it's fair to
say
modern
that, tournament standard, which would be 212s. 212s
at least 210s at least,
and I can't use all my functions on my boat because my units cover all my gauges.
Right,
like that doesn't make any sense.
Now, what about?
I think it was very poorly designed.
What was Champion price wise in their heyday compared to the other boats brands?
And everything was about the same.
Okay,
but
sure,
it's they weren't.
But they were comparable in terms of innovation, whereas the Charger 210, like you're saying, it's still that classic that, and. The very few
it's
Chargers,
really its only selling point is it's a champion hull.
The few Chargers that I've seen
doesn't have any
have all been champion hulls. I've never seen a 797 Charger. I've never seen a 496 Charger.
There used to be a 496 on the round upper bay. Rich Vonderdeck had one.
Oh, he had one?
Yeah.
Really? Cool.
I think he has a 210 Elite now.
I've never seen one. I looked into him a little bit a couple years ago. I don't know. It's like I feel like so many people have that legacy in their mind when it comes to these older boats where it's like, man, this thing was the shit back in the day. It's like, is it still? I mean, the Earl Bent's boat was incredible back in the day, but you can get a Bass Cat now that runs faster than the TR21 did in 98. It's close, and it has a deck layout.
TR20s were fast as shit.
But weren't the older TR20s were only rated for 200 though?
The TR20 was came with a 225.
Yes,
Greg had one.
But they didn't. They also didn't.
It was an 80-mile-an-hour boat.
But they didn't have the poles. They didn't have the 36-volt trolling. Maybe
they did, but
they didn't.
It wasn't common.
Sure. So I think that's another thing. I feel like it's unfair. Like, I'm going to compare my 21 XDC speed numbers compared to 21 XDCs back in 2009. It's like, well, they didn't have half the bullshit I have on mine. So it's like, you kind of have that, I feel like a lot of the boat industry is based on legacy, and it's not really fair.
Based on legacy and not innovation, like it should be.
Correct. And I feel like a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, this boat was made by whoever. Oh, yeah, it's awesome. It's a great boat.
His buddy's TR20 runs 80 easily. Yeah. They were fast boats.
Oh, yeah. They definitely were.
New Tritons aren't that fast.
No. I mean, the only boats I know of that are running 80 loaded are basically ballistics, bullets, and Allisons. Like with load that are rolling.
New boats?
Yes.
80 mile an hour?
Yeah. Blazer, maybe a 625. A 625, and that's probably low 80s.
Fast.
But I mean, and even with the Bullet, the XRS isn't running that. The XST isn't running that. They're high 70s, and that's a Bullet. The 21 SS, they're running in the mid 80s, but that's a different hull design too.
And high 70s isn't even that fast. I mean, everything like going from what you're saying, with innovation, like half the boats out there run high 70s now. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah, 100%.
Tritons, Bass Cats, Blazers, Ballistics.
Yep.
Like you could just name off boats, and they run it. You know, they run high
realistically, the only bass boat that you can buy right now loaded that's not touching 70 is the Icon,
and by high 70s, I mean 75, over 75 miles an hour.
and that's with one guy.
Right. The average. Morgan said it perfect. The average fishing boat today is completely different than 10 years ago, except for chargers. You know, except for a lot of these boats that are now Caymas. On the other hand, I will say Caymas is, they are very updated. You know,
yes.
But again, I think
you don't think they had to do anything with the way the Charger makes their haul through because of the EPA and stuff.
Oh, they definitely did.
That's all boats though. Like every boat's affected by that.
So the hauls they're not the same hauls.
Right.
It's the same haul, but it's not the same haul.
It's the same haul, so it should run the same. I would say what you're losing is probably more durability, if that makes sense.
Right.
With the modern resin and all that.
Well, and the other thing too is like I want to see where these boats are in 15, 20 years, because a lot of people don't realize this is something we learned at JCS Marine is boats that sit on trailers their whole life, that actually will change the way that the hull sits.
Yeah.
It will affect it. So if you have an older boat that's built more rigid and with better resin, that boat is probably going to hold its shape a little bit better versus a boat now. I mean, we heard on Andy's show, he was saying that there's boats that are just delaminating, like nitros, after 2-3 years are delaminating the hulls. Like, it's insane.
That's crazy.
So there's definitely a good argument to say that boats that are made now for reasons outside of the boat builder's control have quality control issues. Not all of them, but some of them.
We need to go buy Andy's showroom new Champion 203.
I know. Apparently, it doesn't have a motor on it too. I want to see that thing.
That's okay. We can throw a Yamaha on that thing.
Yeah, flash it. Oh my God. Morgan says most tournament-ready boats today, when they leave from blast off, headed to their first spot, will be running the ballpark of 68-72. Yep. I agree 100%.
Yeah,
100%. And you're right. It doesn't really matter what you're running. I mean, even the 21 XRS Bullet is only running 5-6 miles an hour faster than that loaded, and that's a Bullet, So
you give me first thing at my Skeeter, first thing in the morning. If it's just me in it, I'm running 71 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's not slow, but you're not.
It's not slow, but it's not like scalding fast,
right? Yeah. And I really feel like it's so funny. I'm wondering if we're going to, because over the last number of years, the accessories is what's driven these boats to get bigger. If forward-facing sonar continues to be a dominating factor in fishing, are we going to see boats get smaller again? If the argument is, well, you just need 3 baits and forward-facing sonar, are boats going to get smaller so you can run faster to get to your spot if the game is hanging a mini?
Or is it going to get bigger to accommodate bigger screens? How big are screens going to get? Is the norm going to become like the NBT 22-inch battleship?
Yeah.
If that becomes the norm, are we going to see bass boats getting wider at the front? Yeah. Is the norm going to be 3 units at the front? We're already seeing that a lot.
Yeah.
Where guys are running 3 units at the front.
Yep.
So are we giving, now that being said, Mike's got a Phoenix 920 and a 920 Elite, and he has 3 units at the front, and there's plenty of room.
Oh yeah. Sure.
So what are they, that's, but I totally get it. What's going to come next?
Yeah.
Is it, or how is the market going to change? Or are we going to be looking at smaller boats that are, or narrower boats that are better in rough water, or wider boats that accommodate?
Well, if you're fishing offshore all the time,
but you have to take that with what you got to take that for what it is too. That a narrower boat is more generally better running in rough water.
Sure.
Running in rough water, but it's also less stable fishing platform.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm curious to see what where the market's going to go from here, and if there's going to be any like any like major innovation. I think Icon has done some very innovative things with their boats.
I would agree.
Is it so things like that, and look, I see a lot of people running Icons now.
Yep, I will say I still think their flagship is so ridiculously priced. I will say that, but to give them their credit, they did come out with a second model that's competitively priced, and the one that we crawled in at JCS was not their flagship. That boat was really, really, really nice.
Really nice.
Really nice boat.
The back of the back compartment of that boat, the whole boat was nice, but the back compartment of the boat is what really stood out to me on that thing.
Oh, there was
Just
so
the,
much
the
room,
access that you had to everything in case you had to work on something was insane.
So Morgan says we see it a lot. Nobody carries a tackle box and goes fishing anymore. More storage, more space, more space, and they get packed full. 20 years ago, if you saw 20 crankbaits in a boat and 25 rods, he was crazy. That's the norm now.
That's true. There's 27 rods in my boat.
I really wonder if we're going to go back to carrying less gear because, and it's going to be environment based, right? We're not going to see that on the bay, but like if you're fishing the TVA, your chances are you're going to be fishing live scope more.
Any lake.
Yeah, you're right. Any lake, true lake. I mean, do you really need all that shit when you can throw an A-rig, hang a mini, or
figure in for, just, and this is, being very, very basic about it, but, if you look at what people are saying, if you want to be covered all year, you need like 5 rods, some minnows and some flipping baits, right? Because if they're not spawning, you're catching it. You're just using forward facing sonar.
I saw a video today. It was an interview between Mark Zona and KVD, and they were talking at length about live scope, and Kevin Van Dam said the reason why he has trouble with live scope is because, and like the concept of it, is it has proved so much shit wrong. And his exact quote was, if there's anything that you learn about live scope, it's that there are fish that live deep all year. They don't go shallow to spawn. They stay there all year long.
Last year, Rick Clunn said he learned more about fish behavior in the first 2 tournaments than he had in 50 years of tournament fishing.
Yep. I believe it. 100%.
He said that, same thing, that so much stuff that he thought was true was just absolutely false.
Yep. So I wonder what we're going to see. I mean, and it's like I said, I mean, I'm wearing the sweatshirt, so I'm going to keep talking about it, but it's like, and I really think I think guys that are buying in 2025 that are buying a 20XD are not buying a 20XD to go fish BFLs. They're buying a 20XD because they love Bullet and they want to go fast as shit. Right.
The speed, you get the adrenaline factor, right?
Right. So it's like
that's a good selling point for a Bullet.
But the thing, my point is I don't think that we're at that point yet where guys are actively saying, for me to fish tournaments competitively at a BFL or slightly higher level, I need a boat that's fast that I can get to my spot first and rely on my forward-facing sonar. I don't think we're there yet.
I'm wondering if we're going to get there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where you're fishing. I mean, if you're fishing the St. Lawrence River on a calm day, an 85-mile-an-hour boat makes a big difference.
Well, think of like if you're making a 80-mile run, think about the time, you have so much more time to fish, right? So versus, let's say you have a boat that runs 70 miles, you're making a 70-mile run, right? And you have a boat that runs 70 miles an hour, it takes you an hour to get there. If you got a boat that runs 85 miles an hour, it takes you 45 minutes to get there.
Right.
So you have, throughout you have a half an hour more fishing time.
Yep.
Than that other person. I mean, that's a big difference, especially when you're talking like top level, top level competition.
Yeah,
half an hour. I mean, that could be three extra bites.
And my thing is going back to the boats again is like if the dominating pattern in major level tournaments is going to be a forward-facing sonar pattern, is the boat becomes less and less relevant, in my opinion, outside of speed.
I'm with fishing for dollars. I'm 70 mile. Like my boat does the same as yours, man. Like 70, 71, 72 at the most. Keeps me dry. Like it handles rough water pretty well. It's a comfortable ride. Like it's easy to drive. Good to go.
There's only one time in my life where I've ever like been running and consciously thought like, damn, this boat's fucking slow with my Ranger, and that was on the Potomac last year when I was practicing. When I ran from Quantico Creek to Belmont Bay, and it took me like a long time to get there. And I was in my head, I was like, dude, if I had that bullet right now, I'd have been there by now. I don't know. We just got an error message on the computer. I don't know what it means. You guys can still hear us and see us, right?
I'm not worried about an MP4 file. So Jim says, but why buy a boat that's fast? Why not buy a boat that fishes good? If it fishes, again, if you buy a boat that's fast to a point, like, again, that's more fishing time throughout the day, depending on how much you're running. So you have to weigh the pros and cons. Maybe this boat fishes a little bit better, but if this boat fishes good enough and I can run 10 miles an hour faster.
So here's my question. Let's say you're an offshore guy and you're going to fish BFLs and you're fishing offshore all the time, right? And you're never going to touch the bank. You're going to rely on your forward-facing sonar. How much better is, I'm going to say Ranger because I had one. I still have it. How much better is a Ranger 521 going to be fishing offshore versus a Bullet 21 XRS?
I would go with, I would have to say that the Ranger is probably going to be better suited for all of the conditions that you're going to be in.
Okay.
Being that it's a more stable platform.
But is it going to be enough to the point where it's going to affect your fishing to the point where you can consciously say, I'm hampered by my hull?
Could be. Did you see that video that Dakota Ebear posted at Rayburn where his trolling motor went out?
I didn't see that.
When he was
but
out,
I get where you're going with it.
He was out he's out cranking in 5-footers.
Yeah.
Like, it all depends on how you fish. Like, if you're going to be fishing in rough conditions, you might want that boat. You might want that boat that is more, a more stable fishing platform.
Scott says, no perfect boat, need one to fish with and one to chase ass with.
Tits and ass.
I actually agree with that.
My perfect pleasure boat, my dream pleasure boat is a Champion Mirage.
Champion Mirage. What? Is that a thing? How have I never heard of this?
It's a bass boat hull with a speedboat
top cap. Oh, I have seen that once actually. Now that you mention, I have seen that.
I would love to have one of those.
But that's kind of where I'm at with this, and I haven't fished enough tournaments, and I haven't fished enough big water lakes to be able to make that decision. But I would say I would have a hard time being in a Bullet now to say, if I'm fishing big water all the time, where, man, I really wish I had a Ranger in these 4-footers versus a Bullet in these 4-footers. When I'm fishing, not running, because ride's a different conversation. I'm talking just a fishing platform. I have seen those. That's sick. How fast were they?
It was a 201 hull, so.
Jim says you're right. I forget the water is different here, and we don't have the big bodies of lakes like you guys. Lake O is only 33 miles across. I don't know what it's like on Lake Okeechobee, but I can tell you on the Potomac and Conowingo. Is that today? Nice. I can tell you on the Potomac and Conowingo, any 21-foot boat is a huge benefit. Because there's been times on the 518 where I'm just getting beat to shit. I'm like, God, dude,
that's where
brutal.
I ran into that. I ran into that issue with my Champion where, I would, I have been in conditions where I probably, it's not ideal to fish out of an 18.5-foot boat.
Right. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes in the future with the way that fishing's changing. I feel like
real quick, Morgan said there are very many fast boats that ride absolutely incredible. People knock them. Yeah, and I totally agree. But some of those boats don't seem to be as stable while you're fishing as other boats on the market.
I don't know anything about Allison at all. I'm intrigued by Allison. to me, like even the Bassport, it doesn't seem like a serious tournament boat. It just doesn't seem like it to me because of the weight. It's a smaller boat. I mean, I don't know. Like I completely
Smaller
said the
boat.
same shit about.
They're pretty freaking big.
Yeah, but I mean, I said the same shit about Bullet before I own one, and I've never fished out of mine yet, but I've talked to
Paul
enough
Reeder's
people.
Allison, like standing next to it in a parking lot. That's a big boat.
I don't know, man. Like
it seems big anyway. Like I'll put it that way.
But like to me, like if I know if I'm gonna go fish the BFLs or the Opens or the Toyota Series and I'm gonna hang a mini all day, I don't really care what the boat is. I'm gonna hang a mini all day. Like,
but at that point, you want to know, like, if you're gonna hang a minnow all day, you know you're gonna be offshore, so you probably want the most stable platform that you can fish off of, right? Because
sure.
That way the conditions don't affect your fishing as much.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It does. But then you have to think. Okay, so let's say if that's in the forefront of your mind, you also have to do
because
the
think
analysis.
about picking a minnow. Well, most of that's trolling motor control, right?
Yes.
So the less your boat's getting moved around, the easier it is for you to do.
Sure, but then you also have to think about, if that's what you're considering, how many tournaments of the year am I realistically going to encounter where that is going to make a difference?
It only needs to make a difference in one.
Sure.
I mean, at that point, like if you're talking like, and I'm talking like, pro level, right?
Yeah.
If a pro is selecting them, because, let's be honest, like for us, buy what you want. Like,
yeah, agreed.
It's going to do whatever what we want it to do. But if you're like from a serious tournament angling perspective, like look at the Opens and look at the Elite Series and the Angler of the Year standings. One bad tournament
screws
you.
Yeah,
Like,
100%. And you look at what those guys are running. I mean, how many of those guys that are fishing that level? I mean, Buddy Gross ran a Bullet forever. I don't know that anyone on the Bassmaster Elites is running Bullets right now. Nobody's running Allisons.
Buddy was the only one that ran a Bullet, and then Andy Morgan runs.
Was anybody ever running a stroker?
Oh, I mean,
at that level, I mean, guys were running. QJ Queen ran a Gambler for like a year or two on the Elite Series, but that was the only one, and they're obviously gone now. So I don't know. It's just
really.
He did.
Yeah, that's cool.
He did run a Gambler. It was pretty sick too. It was wrapped. It was awesome looking.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Tony was gonna pee himself.
Yeah, it's definitely like I said, for the average person like us, you just buy what you want. Like, do your research, find out what's best for you, and just buy what you want. It's going to, as far as fishability, any new boat is pretty much going. Talking 21 foot boats, right? Any new boat's going to do what you need it to do, to fish local tournaments, to maybe travel, go, maybe fish a championship every now and then. Maybe you fish like the Bass Nation Championship, every couple of years or something if you're pretty good, or the TBF Championship. I think any boat's gonna, like any 20 to 20 foot boat, like you're gonna be, or 20 to 20 foot boat, 20 to 21 foot boat is gonna get the job done for you. So I don't think you need to, we're really just some hypothetical BSing going on here, right?
It's all just talk and thought. And why is this company doing this? Why is this company doing that? We don't actually know.
What truck you drive?
A big one.
It's a little one, like his wiener.
Ooh, burn. Actually, that dude was spot on.
You seem like a 5'7" Hemi, brother.
No.
Wow. It is a 5'7" Hemi.
It is.
It is exactly a 5'7"
Stalker
Hemi.
much.
I watch you. The next comment, is it the black one with this license plate? It's like, okay, cut the show. I'm actually very excited to get down to. We're 2 weeks out we're all going to Lake Anna, hot side again. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Get to hang out hang out with my boys, hang out with my buddy Ron.
It's a pretty good guess there, pal.
Yeah, that was a pretty good guess.
Yeah,
like
it's also the best-selling truck in America. So you had if you're gonna guess one, that's the one.
Yeah, if you have like a 30% chance.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about getting a new truck. I don't know though. I was thinking about getting either the 3.0 Duramax or in the pickup, or the Suburban or the Yukon with the 3.0 Duramax, so I have room to keep my shit. 'Cause I have a lot of shit all the time.
Are you preparing to have children?
No.
What kind of
Then
no.
get the pickup truck.
what kind of shit?
Just between work and I'm always like 2 weeks ago was a great
truck and a
example.
tonneau cover. It's the best
Yeah, true.
$230 I ever spent.
Yeah, he says the 3.0s are ass. Get the F-150 V6 Power Stroke. I don't know, dude. Like, I've been in the diesel game.
V6 Power Stroke.
I bought my 12 valve in 2017, and that thing's great. But it's at the point where it's like, if you look at it hard enough, rust is gonna fall out.
The 6-cylinder diesels are actually pretty good.
Yeah, I just like
Does Power Stroke have a 6-cylinder?
It's an inline, the F-150. Yeah, it is.
Really?
Yeah. It's a small one, but it is. It's
No shit.
They also have
I'm like way out of the.
They also have the that V6 twin turbo F-150 is pretty sweet too.
Buddy says he's got a. And thanks for joining, man. Never seen you on. I appreciate you joining us.
Drew, thanks for joining, brother. Appreciate it.
He said he's got a 700,000 miles on the 7.3. You'll probably get another 700 if the motor doesn't fall out of the frame. That's where I'm at with my 12 valve. I'm at the point now where I'm either buying a new truck or I'm restoring the 12 valve. And I can tell you,
You're gonna have to freaking restore everything.
restoring the 12 valve is still going to be way cheaper. So it's like,
I think if you get an F-150 though, I think if you get anything that other than the F-150 with a Coyote in it.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
Restoring is definitely worth it, but I gotta say, having a nice heated steering wheel and seats and shit is so nice.
I'm all for you getting an F-150 with a Coyote and slapping a Whipple on it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, actually,
And not getting
that
any
would be
gas
pretty
mileage
tight,
whatsoever.
too.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If it comes to full size trucks, I was looking at the 7.3 Godzilla Ford, because you can put a supercharger on that thing and it is the beans, man. You can give that thing the beans, and it produces more horsepower than most diesels, other than like the 6.7s and the 6.6, like the new diesels, like that 7.3 Godzilla makes more power than like a 6.4.
The heated seats and steering wheel. He's like, you sound gay. All you need is a steering wheel and 4 wheels.
no. I drove the old Cummins for long enough and dealt with that. Now I like my luxury.
Yeah, I'm too old for that shit.
Or you just have a diesel that has the luxury.
I like the 12 valve because when you cold start it, you got to put the windows down so you don't breathe in the fumes.
I honestly don't care that much as long as it'll pull my boat. I'm way more concerned about my boat than my
The
truck.
amount of people that used to make comments when I would freaking pull my John boat with my truck back then, they'd be like, you got enough power? Like, no.
The funny thing was, your truck sat so high that you probably couldn't even see the boat out the back.
Barely. Yeah.
you just see the top of the motor swinging around.
Morgan said, I'll need all the fuel economy I can get with the XB. Yes. And that's the biggest reason I can't get rid of the 12 valve, dude. I can tow that thing for a week and a half and not fill it up. Like, it's ridiculous. You get ridiculous fuel mileage with that truck.
What's up to our friends on Kick? Thanks for joining everybody watching on Kick.
That is I forgot about that old XB.
Oh, yeah. Drinks fuel.
But that definitely fits your redneck persona.
I'd rather pay the doc than pay the mechanic. So I'd take that all day. I'd rather put 10 grand into fuel than 10 grand into that shit.
At least
being
you're fishing and not waiting.
Right.
You could have put another 10 grand into the motor and got a Yamaha.
Realistically, what's going to end up happening is when that XB lets go, if it ever lets go, it's just going to go to 250R.
Yes.
Throw a Yamaha.
Show. No, you got to put the show on it and flash it.
I could do that too.
Put the show on it.
Well, 32 horsepower action.
Oh, it'd be 100 mile an hour.
Kevin's boat is disgusting.
Hey, Morgan, if I put a Niz Pro
like
250 on there, how fast would it go?
Exactly. Scott, smiles per gallon, not miles per gallon.
The smiles per gallon.
The funny thing, it was funny because before we went up to JCS, when John tested my boat up there, he was like, dude, this thing is nasty. He's like, it's going to hurt you if you don't know how to drive it. He said this boat is ridiculous with that 250 XB when they tested it.
Yeah.
He said it's insane. He said it's just. He said it when he put it in and when he put it in gear, it was like a drag boat. Like you could every time that because those XBs they have that idle.
It just like lopes.
Yeah, he said when it was. He said when,
like a cammed up muscle car.
he said when that thing lopes, you can feel the boat shaking, just like because it's a 250 EFI. They had that idle that and you could just feel it. And it's like, oh my god, I haven't even started it yet, dude. I want to run it this week. I'm gonna try to run it Sunday.
Dude, I'm just like
It's supposed to be nasty on Sunday.
Oh, Monday.
I'm gonna be running it down at Anna.
Oh, I know. I can't wait.
I'm scared.
Do you got is everything rigged now?
It's rigged.
Like ready to go?
Ready
like
to
you don't
go.
have to do anything else?
All I got to do is
Did you
put
get
the
the
gear in the
pole
boat.
wraps?
Yes,
Did you put them on?
I did,
Were they a pain in the ass to put on?
and they look like shit.
What do you mean?
What?
They don't look great, and it's not that the wraps are shitty. It's that the red in the poles bleeds.
Shows through.
It shows through. That's what it is.
So
Damn.
everywhere there's like a circle in there
Yep.
that shows it.
It has nothing.
Remember, I told you that.
You did. It has nothing to do with the decals themselves. The decals themselves are as advertised. They were a pain in the ass to put on.
It just would have looked better on a black pole.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
or a white pole. Either anything other than red. So I'm not saying it's a waste of money. It looks good, but like I see it and I'm like, eh.
You know what all you have to do is find.
Would you almost rather take it off now?
No.
Just
No.
find some sort of red decal to put on the boat to blend it in.
Just tape around it and spray paint the areas.
I did see a set of power poles on Facebook Marketplace. I sent a picture. I sent the ad to Kevin. And they were
He
definitely
says a $300 and a cowling cover.
they were definitely spray bomb blue.
Nice.
Like somebody just straight spray bombed their power poles.
Does your boat have an unlimited horsepower?
Yeah. It's over 20 foot. Everything over 20 foot's unlimited.
That's crazy. You should put a 500 on it.
John said the way that transom's built, he said I can put whatever I want on that thing. And
Yeah, he said it'd be
hold
comfortable putting a 400.
Yeah. Which is I would never do that.
No, that seems over.
Realistically, when the XB
Are
lets
you really
go,
going to get any more speed out of that 400 than you will freaking...
So
Yes.
I have a question for you because I was thinking about getting the pole wraps. They're pain in the ass to put on, but they look good aside from it being red.
if you take your time and you do it to the point where you don't get the bubbles, they do look good. Yeah. I will say my only thing I don't like about the wraps themselves is I got the medium gray to match the wrap. The medium gray was way lighter than it looked in the pictures.
Okay.
So that is what it is. Morgan said the showcase isn't very happy with the 21 XDC and the weight in the back. Interesting. Yeah, honestly, I think when the XB lets go, if it ever lets go, it's going to get a 250R and just fire and forget at that point. Because then I could get rid of the oil tank and I could put a second battery in there to run the electronics and everything like that. So I will say the guys at JCS did an incredible job rebuilding that whole bilge area because I have room for everything. It's tight, but I got 4 batteries, the pole pumps, everything's in there. It's secure. It's tight.
Nice.
It looks good.
I'm thinking that in the near future, I'm gonna have to rip apart my bilge and rearrange a lot of stuff so I can fit a 5th battery in there.
Yeah, that was one of the things that John said. He said you might want to consider putting the power pole or the Raptor pumps in the compartment behind the driver. I didn't want to do that just because I didn't
want the storage. You don't want to lose your storage space.
So, and I'm glad I didn't have to, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking, man, it would be nice to run a second Group 31 AGM in a parallel with my cranking battery just to have all the power for the electronics and the cranking. We'll see how that works out. I mean, what probably what'll happen is I'll probably run the AGMs for the trolling motor indefinitely just because of the weight factor. But in the future, I probably will go to a lithium cranking battery just so I can run the graphs, not the live scope, but the graphs, the poles, the switches without any worries. So
I wouldn't. I mean, if you have a good AGM in there, I wouldn't. If you're not running live scope off of it, if you're running your live scope unit off a separate battery, I wouldn't even worry about it.
Yeah,
I would just stick with AGM.
I had that problem with the Ranger a little bit. Is even when I moved the live scope to the amped outdoors, if I ran the pumps all day, I would I could run the battery dead if I wasn't running around.
I said a good AGM.
Yes. Well, but that came down to, and I did the more research I did, I found out where if you have an AGM and you're using an older charger like I was, it's not charging that battery all the way.
So yeah, it doesn't have an AGM profile on it. What type of charger were you using?
Minn Kota MK350, old school. Came with the boat. Came with the Ranger. User from day one. So it had no settings. Yeah. You just hooked it up and plugged it in. So I definitely am to blame for some of that, but I am curious to see how the precision charger does with the AGMs. I'm hoping it's a little bit better.
It is. That's what I run.
So
which did you get the PCL?
For
it has the lithium setting on it as well, or did you get the?
I bought it.
One?
It does not have a lithium setting. Okay. It has AGM, gel, and then flooded.
Gotcha.
So, but I'm only running AGMs. Everything's AGM.
Yeah.
So
it's just nice, like if you're thinking about like ever switching to like a lithium battery, having that option.
Well, they do say that you can charge the lithiums on the AGM setting, but it's not quite as good.
It doesn't charge as fast. Yeah. Like so I had the older precision charger on my Champion, and like it charged my lithiums just fine, but it took it took a long time to charge them. So if they were like 50 to 70% down, I mean, it would take like 8 hours to charge them to 100%. With my new charger, yeah, like 70 to 100% takes like 3 hours.
Yeah, that's a big difference. If you're fishing multiple days, if you're on like a trip or something. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. It's going to be a huge learning curve going from a boat where you just sit in it and trim it a little bit and you're rolling to a high performance boat with the setup and everything like that. Scott says MK chargers are good, but weigh as much as an electric substation. That thing was heavy.
Not the new ones.
Yeah, well, I'm using an old one to be fair. Mine was a 3-blank MK350. It was old.
The new precision chargers are super light.
Yeah. I got that one from Kevin. Kevin got a new charger because he put all Dakota lithiums in his Bass Cat. So we had the precision laying around. I got it for a good deal.
Oh yeah. I know which one he had. That's the same exact one that I had in my Champion.
Yep. And I was thinking about upgrading it, but I was like, if I'm running AGMs for a couple years, I got this thing for $100. Might as well use it. And then if I have to upgrade to a better charger later, I upgrade to a better charger later.
Is that the 460 or the 440?
I think it's the 460. I think. I don't know though, to be completely honest with you.
Either one.
Josh says precision's great with AGMs. What he had in his old boat. He got the whole Impulse lithium setup for the 202. Looking forward to that. Fishing for Dollars said the one thing I wish Ben would have left in the Caymas was the powerhouse batteries. I saw a new battery that John and JCS crew posted recently, and that was the solid state marine lithiums. I hadn't heard of them.
Yeah, I saw that too. Had not heard them.
Curious as to what the word is on those. I looked them up. They're pretty much priced with most other lithiums.
Morgan says best charger in the market in his opinion. I'm assuming he's talking about the Minn Kota Precision.
Yeah.
No batteries or graph were left in the boat. Well, no wonder it was so cheap.
Yeah, right. But yeah, that's the only thing about the Bullet that it's not a problem. It's just I have to consider is that when I do upgrading to lithiums will affect the performance quite a bit, whereas a newer boat they're kind of built for that. So realistically speaking, I mean, I'm not the type of person that's going to worry about fishing for 3 days without charging. I'm going to charge my boat every night.
I will say that my boat, like I've ran lithiums in it from the start. I have an AGM cranking battery still back there that weighs like 75 pounds.
The X2?
Yeah.
Nice. It's a big battery.
But my number, like my speed numbers are comparable to, anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone else that's well,
it's kind of built. It's built for that in mind. Whereas if that boat was 10 years older, you might have had a big difference. Like a new Bullet, if you run lithiums, it's not as big of a difference. Whereas these older boats, they want that weight back there in the ass because everyone was running lead acids back in the day.
Are you saying you paid $12,000 for it, or it was $12,000 less because it didn't have any of that stuff?
Josh said the warranty is what sold him. Not having to worry about batteries for 10 years is pretty tight.
Yeah,
but I think what's the Ionic lithium? 11. Most of them are in like the Dakotas.
It's an 11-year, but it's like
it's 6 years and then it's prorated after that, or 5 years and then
it's like 5
years
and then it's prorated. but it's still very, very good. And I've dealt with them before. Their
Guess
customer
what?
service is
Yes,
great.
it was $12 cheaper, or yes, you paid $12 for it.
The one thing I do like about the Dakotas is they do have the option for a 36 volt 100 amp hour trolling motor battery, which I think is huge. Josh said put some steel plates in the compartments to offset. Yeah,
Damn, there you go.
you could. I mean, you definitely, and it's. I'll deal with that when it comes. I just got all new batteries around, so I'm not super worried about it right now. But eventually, because I'm going to have this boat for quite a while, if I do decide to go
Yeah, there you
lithiums,
go.
I'm going to have to
Five
ask those
full, 6
questions.
prorated for the Ionics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had to warranty one of my batteries right not too long after I got it. Honestly, it was pretty simple.
I know
You know,
you
like-
had to warranty one, and it was easy.
Well,
I
they've gotten a little.
warranted one because I snapped the freaking
Yeah,
peg off of it. And I even told him that, hey, I broke the peg off of it.
Yeah, but you weren't doing anything wrong. You were tightening a terminal.
I was
And it
tightening a
wasn't that
terminal,
tight.
but what it was strained copper wire.
boat
and-
motor Raptors and Ultrex with trailer for 12 G's.
Oh my
Holy
God.
crap!
What?
That's insane.
That's crazy. Did you guys have sex?
Right?
That's
Like-
incredible, actually. Wow. Actually, wow. I thought he was talking 12 grand for the batteries.
I was thinking he was talking like 12 grand off, right? Like,
That's what I thought. I thought he meant 12G off the price. So I was like, yeah.
what you
that's a good
say?
deal.
Like, that's a good deal, right? Yeah, but still. Two
That's a-
36 volt 40 amp for trolling motor, 125 amp hour for the house.
So what did we learn today? When Milliken sells his next boat, you better hit him up.
Yeah, I'm trying to go buy his boat. What kind of boats are you running?
He says I'm the plumber.
You running a Bass Cat again?
He is this year. Yep. Did last year too.
I'll sell the Skeeter real quick. No, actually, that's not true. Not for the way he drives that boat. Oh, here fishing for dollars. Here's the question: Is that the one he had to have fixed because he hit the 6 mile an hour buoy with it, or the marker buoy with it?
It's a good question.
Either way.
Because he did smash one of his boats into a marker buoy running to.
Did you just not see
You just
it?
take it to
It was dark.
JCS, you get it
It was in the
fixed, and
morning.
it's
He was
still
running.
there for a good
He
cost.
launched at a different ramp, and he was running to the other ramp in the dark.
Was it cosmetic or was it like damage?
It was pretty messed up.
I want to know.
It may have had a hole. It may
Is
have had
one
a
of
hole.
those?
Nice.
One of those?
Ah,
boats,
it was. See, that's why. Okay, now it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. I'm sure it was fixed, and it was fixed properly. But yeah, he definitely. I don't know. I definitely saw a hole in the side.
Are
of the
those
boat.
buoys heavy? Like,
Depends on what
I
they
feel
are.
like they're just floating. I feel like they should just be floating pieces of plastic.
Yeah,
they're
but some
not.
are metal though.
Yeah.
I mean,
What
like
keeps them anchored to the bottom?
A big ass concrete block.
and chain,
Yeah.
and like some serious chain. Well, shit. I think we're getting to that point. We've been going for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we're getting there. Oh man, yeah. What are you looking at?
Watch me do $10,000 worth of damage to my boat.
That video was sponsored by Whistling Diesel.
That is Ben Milliken's video about that boat.
Watch me do $10,000 worth of damage to my boat.
As soon as we get through this ad, we're about to see what this damage looked like. I'm just
We can
curious.
put this on YouTube up here.
We could.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. Hold on, you're not typing. Well, I mean, we're gonna watch this video and then probably call it for the evening since we are at that time. But I'm very curious to see this. That title sounds like a Whistling Diesel video.
Oh, okay. That wasn't that $10,000 worth of damage. Was a different $10,000 worth of damage he did to his boat. Is that bad?
Is it on video? Him hitting that buoy,
Yes.
even at night?
September 14th, 2023. That's it.
What's it titled?
This wrecked my entire season at the worst possible time.
Okay. Type that in, Chad. This wrecked my season. Oh my God.
Oh.
I cannot wait to watch this.
Oh.
So we're just going to watch this now.
I feel bad. We're just like ragging on this dude's boat right now.
I'm not even. He got it for 12 G's.
Yeah. You did get it.
What do we have to go to? Scene 2?
Yeah.
It's not DIY. It's do it.
Can we full screen?
Wasn't even a good ramp.
That's a good way to start.
You made it and you brought Puppy. Oh, how you doing? Did you sleep good?
Should we skip
Mama
through
wake
this
you up
one?
early?
Yeah.
What is up, MFers? Welcome to stop number 7. Can you put number 2 up? I got 5, he's got 2, and baby just fell. Oh no, the puppy! The lake. Running over here in the dark, I crushed a channel buoy, a steel channel buoy, ripped the rub rail off the side of my boat. Maybe a hole in the bottom of the boat. It appears the lower unit and the prop are good, so we're gonna, like Zark says, we're gonna take this and put it here, blast about 25 miles down the lake, and we'll see what the hell pulls back on
He's
our
going to go
strings.
fishing?
It's gonna be a fun day. It's a
He's on his way to
grinder,
Florida.
tough event. We're gonna just blast them until the end. We got a higher boat number today, so a little bit shorter day. Fish till 3:55, I think. We're gonna need to maximize that the entire time. Coleslaw is gonna be falling right back behind us. Hopefully we got some good ones, guys. Fingers crossed we'll catch at the first spot. Say deal?
The most replayed spot.
You gotta take these out.
That really doesn't look that bad.
What are these?
I'm more like, what's up with the roller?
Oh my god.
That's my question.
There's a hole and you're pushing the fiberglass. Oh my god. That's why I said
What the hell
take
happened?
it easy.
I took it easy.
This cannot be the same. This can't be the same boat.
But that has nothing to do with the fact that the roller's backwards.
No, look, you can see the roller broke off and they like jerry-rigged it up.
How did that
Go
happen?
back like 30 seconds where it shows that roller again.
Yeah, right there.
That's why I said take
See,
it easy.
the roller
I
was supposed to be up there,
Hammer town.
and they through-bolted it through there.
How do you do that?
Man, you weren't kidding
Building
when he said he's
legends
rough on his
one
equipment.
Is that Ranger?
What is he?
I have no
Is he
idea.
torquing with the drill?
Caymas Ranger.
Caymas Boats. Building rub rails one at a time.
I think he was trying to get the rubber rail out.
Yo.
I think I broke the screw.
No, you just stripped it out. Oh.
Oh, that's the worst.
I hate that.
When the screw breaks, like, oh shit.
Okay, well that's fine. That ain't a big deal. Get that head out of there and
CX21 Pro. Fit screw model. Even
Somebody
comes with
forwarded you
perspective
the roller.
mode. Connected to a outdated head unit that won't run perspective mode. And a
Oh, look, yeah, he said
Roller.
Boatworks gave him a whole new trailer.
That's the third one we put on there.
comes
I mean, that's gonna. That roller's gonna do that. If they keep fixing it,
now
like,
what'd you do?
if they keep going it that way, it's gonna do that every time.
Well,
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because there's no.
You need a drill. You need a drill with a clutch, not the impact.
No, I'm talking about the roller.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where it's bent forward.
he
It'll
handles
do
the
that every
B
time
part.
if they keep fixing
I'm
it
the
like that,
other
'cause there's
B
no
in the
forward
B
brakes.
boats.
So it's taking all the weight.
I handle all the
pulling it over.
roller parts.
Where's the hole at?
Personally,
He said
he does the rub railing. Slaw
That
does
is-
the electronics rigging.
That apparently was a clickbait picture.
Just the camera
What the
gear,
hell?
not the actual
I mean-
electronics.
He's a
I know,
YouTuber.
okay.
It happens.
Would have been touched on
run
that.
all into.
Sure, Brock. Minus
We
the
need to do
whole,
stuff like that.
you know.
Just
it's
gonna
not
post a
Call of
picture
Duty
of somebody's
situation,
boat
but yeah.
exploding, and then it's just gonna be a crankbait.
Sir, thank you very much.
You're like, these new crankbaits from UMA are fire. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. It's cool that you got that boat.
I would still be like, the whole roller thing is like what jumps. I mean, you're gonna hit shit when you fish, but like the whole roller thing, that's like whoa. Yeah, it sounds like there was no hole in the boat, which is good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I just saw that clickbait picture, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That stuff that was there. I mean, that's not that wouldn't be anything that I would worry about.
Yeah. I agree.
But for 12,000, like I could have. So for 12,000, you could have fixed the cosmetic damage, bought a new trailer if you had like gotten a new trailer, and still been, you know what, 30 grand into.
I can tell you, I would have bought that boat with the rub rail
hanging off for 12 grand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can put a new rub rail on. That's not hard.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Absolutely.
It takes a little time, but what's up with these West Coast tall sock, long hair, sunglasses wearing guys? Wait, you don't like them guys? And are you referring to Ben Milliken, because he's definitely from Nebraska,
Which is even funnier.
Looks like a big dude.
He's pretty big, pretty tall dude.
Yeah.
Played baseball in college, so
Makes sense.
he's
Probably a
decent
pitcher or
sized
something.
dude.
Maybe the Orioles should draft him.
It's probably gay.
Couldn't be any worse.
Like Tony.
What? I think
Tickled with my.
he said it was
Tickled
messed
her
up when he
so-
got it.
It was when I got it. Yeah, that's funny. Like, yeah, I'll buy it as is.
Josh,
I'll give you
the same.
Kind of not wrong.
I'll give you 12 grand. Can you imagine? Like I imagine this conversation with fishing going, and you know, like, oh man, this boat's kind of jacked up. I'll give you 12 grand for it. All right, what? It's like, give me 10 minutes.
Yeah, right. I'm going to the bank.
Oh, snap. Well,
But with like, yeah, it's like been on it it's a long time. Familiar with gel coat repair. Yeah, I mean, again, for 12 grand.
Oh,
like,
yeah, 100%.
I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
And
100%.
if somebody came up and you're like, "Wow, why are your boat fucked up?" I'm gonna pay 12 grand for it. Like,
Okay. All right.
watch me catch this fish.
right? It's like, well, I'm gonna pay 12 grand for it.
Right. So,
And you know what the best part is? If the gel coat's already fucked up when you get it, you're not worried about fucking up the gel coat.
that's also true.
Yeah, right. It's like yeah, go ahead, and scrape it up against the dock,
Right.
like whatever.
I am not scared to parallel this riprap.
Yeah.
Right.
That was, speaking of paralleling riprap, when we were at Lake Anna, and this is just Chad being out of his comfort zone.
Oh yeah. I got lost too, by the way.
I'm paralleling this riprap, but I'm like a ways off of it, and like I'm not anywhere where I think I'm gonna be close to like hitting my boat. And Chad's like another like 10 feet off the riprap, like fishing near me, and I'm like, Chad, you gotta get closer. He's like, yeah, but the wind's gonna keep blowing me in. I was like, you can spin all the way around and your boat won't hit it.
It was just.
It was fun to get you out of your comfort zone.
It was way too like windy out there. The boat was blowing all over the place, and I'm just like,
True, and you
I'm
are
like
in a
flailing all over the place. I'm like, nah, I'm
You're
gonna
in a
fall
aluminum
off.
boat. You're
I'm
in an
gonna
aluminum
fall off the side of this thing or something.
You were in an aluminum boat too. You were getting blown around.
If I would have put the leaner up, I probably would have been okay.
I want to ask a question before we sign off. Fishing for Dollars, how did you find out about us?
Yeah, how'd you find out about us fishing for dollars?
Look, I called the scenario perfectly. He said exactly. He said when they said yes, I said, "Don't be fucking with me."
Yep.
That's hilarious.
Fishing for dollars. We want you to come back on every week.
Yeah, I'm curious as to how you found out about us. That's pretty cool that you bought Milliken's boat. Sounds like you're from the South. I'm just curious.
Yeah, where are you from?
I want to know how we reached.
Because you mentioned
Said he was from Springfield.
Okay. Because he mentioned a couple bodies of water, and those two bodies of water that he mentioned were very far apart.
So
Yeah.
Johnny Morrisville.
Oh.
Just popped up.
Yeah,
Cool.
Sweet. Hit
Awesome.
that algorithm.
Tight.
Nice. Love it.
That's what I like to hear.
Jim says seen an ad in the men's bathroom. Oh my God.
Y'all got them dank farts.
Speaking of which, the dog hasn't crop dusted us once tonight, which
Yeah,
is the
he
first,
hasn't crop dusted us yet tonight.
the first ever.
That
And
dog,
dude, sometimes there are definitely some dank farts on
that
the
dog,
show. I mean,
that dog
there's-
definitely got them dank farts.
Yeah.
Whatever you did to his diet, keep
You
it
want
up.
us? You want us to put one in a jar for you?
Only fins.
$100 a jar.
Right.
For a dog fart?
Hey,
Just like
I
all
got their
these
shame.
models are like selling their bath water and their farts and shit. They're just Just canning up freaking cat farts and shit.
I just pictured Chad chasing around Bubs with a mason jar, like, come on, come on.
That's hilarious. You're just canning up a dog fart.
Just shipping it to somebody who's like,
Oh my god.
I like to jar my farts and open them in the sauna.
Nice.
It's disgusting.
Incredible.
I can say Kick's definitely bringing some different individuals.
Oh,
I love it. I'm here for it. He said he grew up in Michigan,
lived in South Carolina for 20 years. Okay, because he mentioned I saw him. He mentioned Santee,
yeah, yep.
and then he mentioned Lake of the Ozarks. So I think he said or Lake of the Ozarks or Table Rock, one of the two. So
Jim, thanks for joining us, man. Always good having you in the house. Appreciate you coming on every Friday, brother.
Thanks, Jim, man. We appreciate you, brother.
Jim, if you see a silver and white Skeeter out there with two guys, two 60-ish year old guys in it, stop by and say hi and give them some juice.
Yeah, for sure. But
One of them, Frank.
Yeah, Frank and Ron.
Hell yeah. Oh, nice. That's two hammers.
He says shit smells like money. I'm a plumber. Nice. Nice.
That's hilarious.
That is freaking awesome.
All right, on that note.
Yep, I think we're gonna call it. We appreciate everyone for joining.
What a super fun show.
Yeah, absolutely. Join us next week. We'll have a chance to talk. Don't forget, 28th of February, we're gonna have Ardent Reels in the house. We're gonna talk to them about what it means to be a reels or a reel and rod company in the industry these days, and get a chance to talk to those guys. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Working on a couple bait companies as well that want to come on and talk. So we got some
boat company.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's going to be a fun one. The boat company we're working on, there's a lot more to just them coming on the show, and I'll leave it at that. So I think that's going to be a fun one.
Shout out to Fishing for Dollars, Drew B. Pauls, and some of the new people that started watching our show tonight. We appreciate you guys. We'll be live again on Friday night next week.
Shout out to the realest white boy.
The realest white boy.
Who likes
Jarring up them farts.
and open them in the sauna.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.